Let's. I definitely want to come back to the work that you did in the gaming space.
Oh yeah,
Lindsay, because that is definitely something that we talk about from time to time, and I know that there's some interested people in it. But Evan, as I just walk into the broadcast now with zero intro, do you want to?
Yeah, that was pretty raw, dog.
You want to do
Welcome.
the thing?
Good now, Happy New Year, and welcome to the first episode of Rise Up After Dark in January 2025. The theme song might sound even better in the new year. I'll tell you what. If you are new to Rise Up After Dark, we're having a conversation with our friend Lindsay Poss. This is the place where we get together, Alex and I am Evan, to answer your crypto questions, to share our impressions and showcase how to do your own crypto research on different projects, altcoin picks, and just generally get to know the inside of this interesting industry a little better. We let our hair down on the Rise Up After Dark show every Wednesday at 7 p.m. I am actually drinking three things. Lindsay, I don't know if you brought your own beverage. I'm drinking chicken noodle soup. I'm drinking throat coat with lots of honey tea, and I have champagne and orange juice, so we can do a toast later. I've really turned it up. And I don't know if Alex explained this part to you, but on Rise Up After Dark, we like to play a game where the rules are made up and the points don't matter. And when you hear this sound,
perfect.
Oh, not that sound. When you hear this sound, it means that somebody got a point.
Oh,
and so
great.
I'm going to give myself a point for being the first person to say Happy New Year in
The game is
2025.
rigged, Lindsay, and Evan is in control of the points. And
I'm also going to give myself a point for having 3 drinks on the live broadcast. But I want you to know,
4. You
I
have
have
champagne and orange juice technically
Don't
right now.
encourage
They're not
technically
mixed.
4 drinks. Yeah.
No,
I
as
want
a
you-
fellow beverage goblin, that's important to me.
Okay.
We know we count them separately.
Well, feel free to get a beverage. And just so you know, I may be a little biased, but I have not won yet. Not because I'm not a formidable player, but just because some people have played really great games. So with all that out of the way, if you have a question, a suggestion, leave it in the comments for us. And if you want to submit an altcoin or crypto company for us to review, then you can do it in our free Discord community. It's easier to share there because these chats, they disappear. We would love to have you there to help make sure of an introduction. I would love to hear more about who you are and what you do, Lindsay. And Alex, why the heck we're talking to her today.
I don't know. I couldn't tell.
Yeah,
you.
me either. No, actually, we can blame one Kim Fournier for this. I heard she's popular in the chat. But
Yeah, I gave her a point.
you gave her a point.
You don't have to be here to get a point. We gave the everybody in India a point one night.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was while I was there. Was it last month? Anyways,
It was actually.
I bet I was. Make sure you put that in the tally.
Okay, so Lindsay comes into the chat with 1 residual point from December for being in India when it happened.
Okay. Noted.
Thank you.
But no, if you want to just give us a little intro, who are you, and then we'll get right into it.
Well, I am naturally very competitive, as one might have been able to tell from the lack of intro and the complete distraction by the game that was introduced. But yeah, my name is Lindsay Poss. I'm a growth marketing manager at the Stellar Development Foundation. I also host the Seeking Alpha podcast alongside my co-host Larissa Bunziak. I've been known about blockchain and crypto since 2012, since those early Silk Road days. I went to a nerdy college, and people were mining it in the dorm rooms and buying fake IDs on Silk Road, and that's how I knew about Bitcoin. But followed the tech all the way through. I wrote a paper in grad school on using blockchain to develop digital identities for Syrian refugees during the refugee crisis. I've always been very, very fascinated by the infrastructure and less so by the finance side. So I'm super excited to shit on some altcoins. As a woman who keeps her investments and her money close and not in that. But I love the space. I love being in crypto, working in crypto. I'll never be anywhere else.
Can I ask a follow-up, Alex? I want to zoom in on 2 things. I want to get to what is Stellar Development Foundation for people who might not know. But first, can you tell us more about this ID for the Syrian refugees? We just had Evan McMullen on of Bravado, and she's been a friend for a long time.
I love Evan.
We love Evan.
Yes, we do.
So, you know,
We're a big fan of Evans.
We're a big fan of Evans here. So can you tell us more about like what that was, how it used blockchain as a solution, and like what problem did it solve, and what was please tell us more, because that sounds incredible.
For sure. So I was in My focus in my master's was public policy and management, and I focused specifically in international trade and development. So a lot of this was development-based work, looking at populations that were in crisis at the time. And in 2018 was when the Syrian refugee crisis had really started. And so there was many people moving across borders, trying to get across borders, really similar to what we see in Gaza right now, limitations on that. And oftentimes people, especially then, because the world is a bit more digitized now, but didn't have great access to identification and didn't have a great way to carry that identification places, and needed that to cross a border, to receive aid, to do anything that required basic services. You need an ID. And so the solution that I had proposed in this paper many years ago, that Evan's now building, which is awesome, and people were doing it back then, was actually a biometrically enabled digital identity built on the blockchain. So immutable, impermeable identity linked to biometric data, which I actually went into the paper, some of the issues of biometric data and how that can be replicated too. But I think the way that passkey technology is going and the improvements in cybersecurity around that, like today, is way better. And if we can give Evan a point just because she's great, I would love to.
Yeah, we're definitely giving Evan a point, but you get a point for that too. That is, I mean, that's so cool. That's
it was a really
undoubtedly
fun
cooler
paper,
to me already than almost anything we're probably going to talk about tonight in terms of like what I pay more attention to. That's a huge.
Yeah, I really liked the infrastructure stuff. So Helium, for example, the Solana project that is trying to build decentralized Wi-Fi and decentralized digital divide service. My way to working in blockchain full-time involved a long detour in technology policy, where I looked at issues like privacy and identity and the digital divide and antitrust and big data. And so being able to wrap that now into actually working in the industry has been really fun. And Helium was one of the first projects I think is so cool. What they're doing is amazing. And building decentralized services for people to have access to the internet is really important.
Meaning just that people can take power over their internet access away from like central intermediaries. We just had somebody say, I feel like English is my second language right now. We get that a lot. So, no, it's no problem. We talk a lot of inside baseball. So like, the simple answer is like users owning the services that they depend on, whether that's internet or something else.
Yeah. Identity. Precisely, like this idea of centralization versus decentralization at its core is just allowing more flexibility on the user end with how they connect. Now, the users themselves aren't going to have to sit there and choose like, oh, do I want to choose this provider or that provider? Like the internet will just be received by them. But on the back end, that's where you can get really creative with how that internet is actually sent to a device. And in doing so, you can lower costs, you can improve reliability. For when I was in gaming, one of my biggest things that I was known for in gaming is that we don't have an adoption problem in gaming because of the tech. We have an adoption problem because of broadband access. So it was like, get gamers better internet and you will see more gamers. Like we don't need a different device. We don't need a new console. We don't need any of that. Like we need better internet. And that will solve like so much of the adaptability issues that people are facing. And so one of the ways to do that is actually decentralizing those services so you don't have monopolies like Verizon and AT&T. I also I could go into like the whole real estate behind how broadband is connected and who owns those companies and the centralization of that and all of it, but I'll spare you.
No, it's okay. It's probably a good conversation for another time. I know you touched on gaming, but do you want to go there next, Alex, or do you want to talk a little about, I was hoping you'd tell us a little more about Stellar too, but maybe we talk about gaming because I know we're all really interested in that. And I'd love to know when you were working in gaming, what kind of problems you were solving there too. And I don't know. Alex has been quiet. I've dominated the conversation.
I think so. I think for sure, especially since actually there's a token, Evan, I don't know if you're familiar with this one, but someone tossed just the ticker game out. I don't know if have we talked about that at all? Is it actually gaming?
It's so hard because you got game, you got play, you got arcade, you got gamer, you got game.gg. I mean, I don't know. Have we covered it?
I think it would be worth it just to talk a little bit about it as a niche in general. Lindsay, I'm not sure how many of these people you're familiar with, but I have a number of friends that are in the Wolves DAO, and I'm constantly shilling them as just creators to follow. And someone who is not shy about hot takes is Jonah Blake. I don't actually know if Jonah is in Wolves DAO or not, but he talks a lot of shit. And I've learned a lot from him, and he's very interesting to talk to. And he posted just a thing the other day that I was like, yes, and we don't talk about this enough. So I thought maybe we can start with this and then kind of go into a little bit about what you did with gaming, and then it as a niche, and kind of I don't know that we need to hit like every token in gaming specifically, but I think we can kind of do like a once over of the whole thing. Because there's certainly some good and some bad in there.
Are you saying, Alex, really quick, that somebody submitted game as a token they wanted us to talk about tonight?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Hang on. Then let me pull this up so I'm not just neglecting my responsibility. Go ahead.
And anyway, so what Jonah was talking about was just how how much money it cost to spin up a game from scratch and get it to maintenance. And this is not including like running it and operating costs after you achieve a player base. This is just sort of like to get it to the point where like we are now ready to maintain a player base of some sort, assuming that we can get one. And nobody really talks about it. And actually, the very first grant I ever received in Web3 was to build a game. And we had a conversation with the people paying us. This is actually when I met Kim. And basically just how like, listen, we need at least this many dollars to do anything. And if you can't give us this much, that's totally fine. It's totally up to you. Like, it's your money. But don't even start with us, because we don't want to take anything from you guys and get started and then have to stop when you run out or you don't want to fund anymore and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. And spoiler alert, they were like, oh, for sure. Thank you so much for saying that. That's so great. And then they cut us off anyway and the project died. But I'm just curious, because what is it? Like 20,000 new games hit Steam every year. And that's just Steam. Their hit rate is probably about the same as meme coins, in that 99.99% of them go the way of the dodo, never get to 10 players and just sort of die. And even some pretty big ones, that get started and get a ton of hype, have a catastrophe of some sort. I'm thinking about Helldivers. It was so trendy. It was so huge. It was everywhere. And then as quickly as it rose, it died. And now almost nobody plays it. And you'd be hard pressed to find any content or any streamers talking about it right now. And I've talked about this with Katie Bettner before too, because I love them. They're wonderful. But I'm just curious, like, first of all, what did you do in gaming? Two, as far as misconceptions about the space and when you're investing or looking to invest into any gaming cryptos and stuff, what do you have in mind as you look at these things? And, what is your insight into gaming as a niche, given you in terms of looking at crypto as it touches gaming?
Yeah, so I, for about 2-ish years, actually was on a live show called The Business of Esports, where we looked at kind of the business of gaming in general. So it's good, it feels good to be back in the old StreamYard. It's been a minute, but we're back here. But yeah, so covered gaming from specifically the business angle. So looking at investment, looking at long-term strategy, looking at, like, you're talking about the problems with game development, but also with esports teams, with building fan bases, with community stuff. So it was really more so about like, what is the money in, what is the money out kind of thing. Which was actually fairly rare in gaming at the time. That was kind of when gaming was really exploding, and the money in was very hefty and nobody was figuring out where the money out was going and how to spend it effectively. So it wound up being a really fun thing to work on, is like looking at what works and what doesn't. No one was doing that. It was just a lot of massive spend. But to your point about the overlaps with crypto, so I actually got into crypto because of gaming. I initially had started with a research project looking at how gaming impacted time economies. So for me, I've always been like a backseat gamer. I didn't grow up with it. I grew up with my brother playing it and watching, but I just don't. If you don't build in that dexterity, like, I know my kids are going to start gaming when they're little, because if you don't build in that dexterity when they're 4 or 5, they never have it. Speaking of myself as the case study for that. But so I started looking at it from the perspective of, this is really monopolizing other entertainment forms. And what does that mean for the entertainment landscape and time in general? I've always been pretty interested in how we choose to spend our time. As like a quick aside, one of my favorite kind of fun facts is that the gum industry lost a lot of money when smartphones became more popular, because people no longer were chewing gum as a way to entertain themselves when they were waiting for something.
Wow.
So like gum sales really sharply dropped.
That's wild.
So yeah, so I like looking at these different ways that people choose to spend their time, their resources, and seeing what that looks like. And so in gaming, I actually came into crypto again. I studied it, the infrastructure side, but not really the payment side, through microtransactions. And I was looking at how people were making microtransactions, particularly in different countries, jurisdictions that didn't accept it. I was reading about like women in Pakistan who were being paid in Bitcoin because they otherwise couldn't open a bank account at the time and things like that. And so I was like, should really circle back to crypto here. And that's how I like wound up back in the crypto kind of ecosphere. I think that the overlap between the two has historically been awful. And I mostly blame major game companies who are the easiest villains in all of the game industry because they suck.
Yeah.
They're villains because they suck.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of examples of that. Actually,
So many.
the game that I have spent the most time on in my, I hate to say the word career as a gamer, but my, lifetime of playing video games has been Destiny and that whole franchise.
Yeah.
And I'm at the point now where literally just because of how much that company sucks, I literally feel guilty when I start it. So I haven't played it in a while because, they launched the most recent expansion. The Final Shape was wildly successful. They crushed it. It was amazing. It was so good. Especially considering the one before that was not great. And within a couple months of launching it, they, like Misty said on TikTok, they did us really dirty. Bungie laid off a shitload of people. Pete Parsons made a shitload of money. He spent like $1.7 million on cars in the past 2 years. Meanwhile, he's laid off 800 employees, including one of the people who co-wrote the Halo theme song, which is one of the most iconic things in the entirety of all of gaming ever. Firing that guy is just like, that's like firing Jesus. It doesn't make any sense. And so I can't even open it anymore. So I'm totally with you. These games suck. And Evan, I always think about the conversation we had when we first got started doing the show in general was with William Quigley. Who,
do you know William, Lindsay?
I don't. I know Jonah though, so it's funny that you brought him up. I totally remember him from back in the day, so that was a good throwback. But tell me about William.
So William is one of the co-founders of Tether, actually, as a company when the stablecoin first started, and then went on to co-found Wax Protocol and has been involved in the gaming and in-game item space for a pretty long time, dating back to like Ultima Online, as one of the first big, massive multiplayer online games that included items and sort of had something akin to what an NFT would eventually be. Really, really cool dude. But he made the claim, and this was years ago now, that when we inevitably see, as Sam says, Web3 gaming is inevitable. William Quigley had been saying it for years. When we inevitably get there, it's not going to be these like current titans of the Web2 gaming industry. It's going to be the incumbents won't be the ones that like really do it. They're too entrenched.
Their business model depends on it.
Economy. And that's really like, I think that's, for me, that's the way that Web3 fits with gaming, is just getting rid of the extraction.
I totally agree with that. And it's been funny to watch the big companies that are extractive use crypto as another way to implement those same ideals and immediately get shafted for it.
And for the record, it's very easy to be extractive with crypto as well. Like just including crypto does not mean you're subverting that at all. No. Honestly, it can be worse.
Well, yeah. And so many of them did silly money grab.
Awful.
Yeah, Ubisoft they're all guilty of it. But the only thing that I dislike about that is it's been very difficult. So many of my gaming colleagues are just so adverse to anything related to blockchain now because of that. And it's like, oh, that's for the big companies and it's just for payments. And I'm like, not even a little, but okay, we'll get there.
Lindsay, I'm going to give you another point for just being such an OG and not only being able to talk about decentralized identification, but also gaming in a way that just has such a 50,000 foot perspective. I hope more people get to hear your thoughts through this episode and others. I must admit, I was really sloppy on my research tonight. It's been a holiday and we've been busy. I had no idea that Seeking Alpha and that was your show. And I think it's a great platform. And I think you do really killer work. So I'm excited for it. Is now a good time to ask a little more about Stellar Foundation, just for people who don't know maybe what it is?
Sure. Yeah. So the Stellar Development Foundation is the nonprofit that supports the Stellar Network. Stellar Network is a layer 1 blockchain. So just like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, those are all layer 1s. And it was built 10 years ago to make cross-border payments and really any payments fast, secure, cheap, and reliable. Okay. And so what that meant was we had so many people using the Stellar Network for things like remittances, for sending money anywhere across border at any time. The Stellar Network itself spent 10 years like heavily innovating in payments itself. And so this year, we just launched a smart contracts platform. So going from payments into the whole world of smart contracts has been an incredibly fun jump. So now I get to actually talk about GameFi, SocialFi, DeFi, all these things that are possible now through smart contracts and building on top of the network. So this year in particular, or I guess 2024, because now we're in 2025, but 2024 in particular was a super exciting year to have smart contracts come on to mainnet and have that as like a whole new world of possibilities. But some of our like main kind of use cases that are the bread and butter of the Stellar Network. We partner with the United Nations High Commission on Refugees to distribute money directly to refugees. So we've been working with them in Ukraine for over 2 years now, actually, and have distributed close to 5 million to close to 2,000 people. And so that money goes to them directly. And so it's actually extremely been able to cut costs and functionality, improve for a giant NGO that has historically had a lot of difficulty in sending payments to people who need it. So that's what we're talking about in the Syrian example. It's not always easy to reach people in these areas quickly and safely. And the way that actually works is we have a partnership with MoneyGram. So at any MoneyGram in the world, you can actually walk in and get cash out in local currency. So if you have a Stellar wallet, someone sends you money in USDC, which is a stable coin as you're talking about, you can walk into anywhere local and get cash out in that place's currency. So again, for refugees, for migrants, for people that are on the move, it's a really, really great way to actually store money because along the way you can walk out and get cash where you need to without having to carry vast amounts of cash because you can't open a bank account that goes from one. I'm actually specifically thinking of Venezuelan refugees now walking through the Darien Gap all the way up. You pass through like 8 countries. So carrying around a wad of cash is incredibly dangerous, but there you can just cash out where you're at along the road and be able to pay for things there. So our partnership with MoneyGram is huge. And then the third kind of a big use case we have is a $400 million tokenized fund on Franklin Templeton of short-term treasuries and highly liquid assets. And I don't know about you all, but my 2024 was spent like heavy in finance. Like I was not in it before. I've been learning so much. And a lot of what I learned was that people who have loads of money are easily able to set up accounts that earn something like 10 to 12% yield because they're able to buy short-term treasuries that are managed by a company that, they pay a bunch of money to do that for them. What the Franklin Templeton Fund does that's a little different is buy-in to actually participate in that fund is $20. So, for example, the BlackRock Bildel Fund.
The Biddle Fund.
A word I cannot say.
Yeah. We knew what you meant.
Yeah, that one I believe has $100K minimum buy-in. And so the tools remain very, very concentrated for a specific class of people. Whereas the ones, Stellar's whole mission is financial access, giving people access to these tools. And so the Franklin Templeton Fund really holds up with that.
Lindsay, really quickly, I'm sorry to stop you, but will you double check the connection on your mic for me? I'm getting just a little bit of buzzy feedback from you.
Oh, weird. Okay. Sometimes I have to hold it close to my face.
No, it's not close or far away. It's like just a soft buzz, and it just started. I would say check the.
Okay, you two
seems
talk
to be
while
much
I
better.
figure this out.
It honestly already, whatever you've already done, it's much better. It's gone. I think you can let it go though with your left hand.
We'll see.
Oh, it's beautiful. Okay, so 3 really great use cases that offer a lot of like proof in the pudding and stuff. I say that a lot on our show to mean like, what is a cryptocurrency, a blockchain network, a company building in our space actually do? Like, does anyone actually use their stuff? How much versus their competitors? Are they generating revenue? Are they going to be here in 10 years if somebody just doesn't, write them a check for fun because they're speculating?
Well, and just the wild difference between these different kinds of groups and companies and projects and things building inside of Web3, the difference between like one TikToker grifting their audience for their shitcoin and a giant company with a legal department and offices all over the place and tons of different people that do different things and, lawyers and rules that they follow.
Up. Where did you get a puppy, by the way? Were we just all
listen, hang on. Here's a point for Arlo. Alex is always holding Alex getting a dog is like, I don't know, is like, where did the hair in my mouth come from? They're everywhere in Alex's life.
I don't know. He just walked into my office, and so he's definitely going to pee on my floor. So I just picked him up to avoid that problem.
Oh, so you want him to pee on your person, on your body instead?
Well, he's good enough at least to probably not pee on me, but he just turned 6 weeks old yesterday.
Oh my gosh, he's adorable.
Alex rescues dogs, and if you walked into his office, you might trip over one. So he and Christina have been caring for Arlo, who was a surprise
Since he was
baby.
20 minutes old.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that's
He
a
was a
big
grub,
surprise.
and now
Yeah.
he's a dog.
he might be the new mascot of Rise Up. Might be Rise Up, Arlo. Rise up. Man.
Oh, I think he's up to task for it, honestly.
I think he is too.
Yeah.
He's a sweet guy. Are you familiar at all, Lindsay, with like the general impression? I would say what you've described to me is very different from the flavor I get from talking to people who are speculators investing in Stellar, or people who are talking about Stellar, like Alex said, on social media, or talking about the XLM token is like a very common thing. And I'm just curious if are you familiar with what that general impression, like, have you dipped your toes in that pond? Have you gotten a taste of it here on TikTok, for example, or anywhere else on social media? Is it something you are aware of? And
Evan, you're basically asking if I'm on crypto Twitter, which like,
no, I just
it's not.
I don't know. It sounds like you're deep, but it sounds like you're connected with a really high signal feed of very, I don't want to say intellectual to imply that people are like slow or something. I just mean to say you're hip, you're in it. You're maybe past that. You're in deeper waters, but it sounds, I don't know. I'm talking too much to say.
No.
What do you think?
That's a fair question. And it's something that like I personally struggle with quite a bit, because on the one hand, the almost Web 2 principles of building real products for real people is not appreciated whatsoever by the Web 3 crowd and audience. It can be very, very hard to be playing a long-term game in a short-term field. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a great way to say that.
Yeah,
I've
I'm giving you a point for that.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's a good one.
And this is kind of a conversation that I'm always thinking about and having with myself is, how do you engage with the audience that would actually have the potential to care or proselytize about the tech, but not in a way that is about investments and speculation? Like how do and this is like a constant, it's like almost like being like the adults in the room or something. It's like being like the wet blanket. You're like, no, like we actually don't talk about our token prices. It's just, it is what it is. Good luck. But we're going to go like build something that actually saves the world. And people are like, oh yeah, we don't care about that. And you're like, but what if you did? What if you tried that on for size? No one wants to. So it's been like, I've been at the foundation for a little over a year now. And that is a constant kind of theme of like, we know we have this audience that cares about speculation, that cares about price, that cares about trading. We also know that that doesn't align with the mission of the foundation. And because we are a nonprofit, like keeping that status is really important. We can't really get into those details. That's not how we operate. If we wanted to have a for-profit, we'd be Ripple, but we're not. So it is what it is. So that's like not a way that we engage with our audience. And so it is like definitely a balance. And I think like, I'm really hoping that we get to a point where people want to hear more good news. And well, that's not true. I think people want to hear more good news, but where good news is as exciting as speculation and bad news, well, we're not there yet. But I'm going to keep telling the stories. One day the hope we will get there.
Yeah, totally. And it sounds like somebody asked, is Stellar going to bring, it's our friend Misty, is Stellar going to bring marketing down to a newcomer's level of understanding? But I think you're not even focused on necessarily somebody who's new to crypto. It sounds like you're focused on like a person who needs to solve problems specifically around like sending money, accessing on-chain money.
The amount of people that use Stellar products and have no idea that they're using a blockchain is very high. A lot of the products that we build or support in the ecosystem have abstracted the layer of crypto away.
I meant to give you a ding, but I gave you a rim shot. I'm so sorry. Please continue.
Wow. Yeah. So a lot of what is in our ecosystem and the products built by the foundation have largely abstracted crypto away in some form. It's actually funny because I went to send money from one wallet to another, and I was like, I actually don't know how to do this. And it was because you had to turn on crypto mode to be able to send from one kind of a wallet to another. Otherwise, these are built as financial access tools in areas where there's not many. So one example of like a community that in the US that I've been trying to think about more is artists and creators. A lot of them are unbanked or lack access to financial tools, not because we don't have them in the US, but because banks also suck in a lot of ways and for a lot of people. And so they don't want to participate in the banking system, which is perfectly valid. And which is, I think you don't need to have a reason for that. However, there are so many things that you lose out on. So we have a wallet, and in the US, you can actually walk in with physical cash and into a MoneyGram and be able to have it put into a USDC, into a Stellar wallet. We have a wallet that earns a daily 6% yield on any USDC that you stake.
Beautiful.
Is that
wallet.
Beans?
Yeah,
Is that
Beans.
something else?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's shout out to Beans. And so
beads with the
Polish on
D or
beans.
beans like frijoles?
like frijoles.
Yes.
Yeah. It's Beans
Cool.
app or beans.app.
Beans app. Yes, I can pull it up. Hold on.
Yeah.
Keep going.
But yeah, so I've been trying to encourage a lot of people to use that as a way to save money and earn yields, because that's an easy way to do it. And for example, I put in like $20 a month. I'm not breaking the bank here, but I just put in a little each month and I get a daily payout. And so that's like a good way of participating in creating your own financial structure. And it's a non-custodial wallet. It's USDC. There's no like institution that's going to like tell you rules about when you have to have it. You can send the money anytime. You can withdraw the money anytime. It's crypto. That's like such a good way for creators who don't typically have access to this kind of thing to like be able to actually like earn money on their money in a way that makes sense for them. So those are the kinds of things that really excite me. Like people have been like, oh, what coin should I buy? And I'm like, let's talk about yield pools. That's where I'm at.
That's my most common answer to the what token should I buy question. I always just say USDC. Let's start there. And,
even Coinbase has a pretty good APY.
They do, but
bad.
I was thinking, as you said, 6%. I was like, Jesse Pollock, are you hearing this? You know what I mean? Like 6% is juicy.
It actually used to be 7 as well. I think the interest rate cut affected it or something.
Gosh.
So.
I'm
so that's
hopeful
fantastic.
That those yields will start to pick up too, because especially as the adoption of tools in DeFi that are more in line with the volume that traditional finance uses these things. Working on like a multi-part video series right now just about all of the ways that banks make money and how all these things exist in DeFi, and the only difference is that you get to get paid for it instead of someone else, and there's no reason not to. I would imagine that as that starts to, or continues to rather, we can actually track the improvement and the growth in this stuff. As that starts to pick up, yield will get better, because it kind of makes sense that it would.
Alex, will you confirm the URL beans.app?
It is beansapp.com.
Just beansapp.com. Beansapp.com. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I feel like we're like well met. This is fantastic. I don't want to derail us, but
wait, can I do one more thing that I think is really cool?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. So, well, I guess, okay, 2. One of our wallets, Decap, allows people outside of the US to open a US bank account to allow sending money and saving money a lot easier. Yes,
Pretty cool.
And then Vibrant, a wallet that we have largely based in South America, allows people to pay utilities to like hundreds of providers directly in the app using USDC. So it's like, yields, utilities, being able to like safely and securely do transactions for payroll. That's what Decap's kind of focused on. A lot of the wallets in the ecosystem are building cool stuff. So Stellar is really like, we're really out there in the real world trying to help people, I swear.
That's seriously incredible. It's an incredible story, and I look forward to getting to amplify it more. We're very bullish. We loved getting to talk to the people you attracted at the Prague event. It was like, I mean, it was fantastic.
And as I keep saying, and Lindsay, I've told you this, I told this to Kim, I told this to Tina, and I will keep saying it. And Lindsay, you can chastise me for saying this afterwards.
I will absolutely die on this hill.
Sorry.
I will. As soon as legal quits cucking you guys,
Stop that.
it's going to be great. I'm so sorry, Stellar legal team.
I know. Can we cut that out?
That was inappropriate.
We can cut that out. I'll replace it with just Alex saying.
That was soundboard Alex.
Yeah, right. A soundboard Alex will just cut it out and he'll say.
Played soundboard Alex, and we probably didn't tell Lindsay that there are 2 Alexes on the podcast.
This is a gross misrepresentation of the facts.
But there are 2 Alexes. That's right.
I'm super familiar with the soundboard effects. Don't worry.
Good. Okay. I'm giving soundboard Alex a point, just because. And the point total so far.
Is my own.
Lindsay, you are in the lead with 4 points, and there are other point holders. Evan McMullen has a point. Kim has a point. I have 2 points. Alex, you have 1 point. Soundboard Alex is tied with you. I'm about at the point in the evening where I'm going to break open my champagne my third drink. I finished the soup. I finished the tea, and I'm ready to just start talking some dirt about
Let's do it.
about crypto talk. Are you ready to do it? Somebody asked about AI agents. I've got game pulled up, but I kind of wanted to revisit since they're asking about AI agents. I kind of wanted to revisit where we went at the start of the chat where you were mentioning butthole. But were you going to say something else, Alex? Like just trendy stuff?
Well, now I just want to leave.
I know. Everyone on the stream is like, I'm sorry, what, Evan?
I was thinking that we can couple game probably with virtuals, just because. So fun fact, we actually talked about virtuals because I wine bottled it off of CoinGecko like 2 months ago, and then all of a sudden it exploded. So I take credit for that 100%. You heard it here first. Everybody knows it. Everyone's been talking about it. You're welcome. But game is obviously affiliated with virtuals, so I thought it might be worth it to do like a quick refresh on that, because we didn't really give it any super attention. We sort of mentioned it, and I basically just said their website looks like a kid made it, which I stand by, and they haven't changed it. So while this dog chews on my feet, if we can, Evan, do you want to give like your first impression? Did you do the
I'll give you my first impression of the game token.
Sweet.
I don't have the game website. I was going to give just some details about it. If you want to pull up the website, that'd be fine. Yes. I would like more information about game, like the company behind it, but game, the token, it's built on Arbitrum, and they are solving problems sort of at the intersection of blockchain and sports gaming. So enhancing fan engagement through incubator programs, grants, stuff like that, starting with Game On. It's a fantasy sports company. Yes.
One of the first
tell them. I mean,
one of the first projects that Evan and I co-consulted on with the rest of the Faceless Labs team was a very cool project. Well, that would have been a cool project. That was at the intersection of specifically the UFC, and adding a token into the mix, not a fungible token, but NFTs, to bring fans and fighters closer together and kind of change the dynamic of that relationship and how you interact with professional athletes. And the UFC was sort of the proof case, and then wanted to expand it. And then we got totally rugged by the asshat that was the founder of that project. And we ended up just doing a casual 8 months of work for free. But I still think it was a badass idea and would have been really cool. And so
tell me you've seen Karate Combat then.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because that's been really cool to be a part of too.
Yeah,
Super
Karate
cool.
Combat is cool. And I think there are a lot of cool projects. I think bringing the whole concept for that is one that I've seen other people do well, to bring like athletes, actors, celebrities, politicians, public figures, whoever it is, closer than ever to the people who want to, experience their story.
This is a good reminder for me to bully Ellie again about adopting the UFC idea, because I know she's a fighter.
Totally.
Has done some work with Karate Combat as well, but would be super cool.
So it looks like, though, I would need to know more about what the token does specifically. It looks like it facilitates transactions, maybe cheaper than other tokens. Maybe it provides liquidity in the ecosystem, rewards in the token, and you can participate with the token through a lot of the different kind of gaming verticals that they have. You can buy digital stuff, avatars, gear, get credits, redeem it for merchandise, stuff like that. It's kind of like a points system, VIP experiences, so on. But I looked at the chart for this, and the chart, we don't even need to pull it up, just looks like it started up here and it went. So I'm imagining that this thing was funded by a lot of early investors and venture capitalists who had a vested interest in selling as soon as the token became available to the public. That probably happened pre-product, pre-revenue, or at least at a time when outflows, sells, people wanting to make profit on the token exceeded its ability to sustain itself. And then behind the retail investors, there wasn't a lot of extra liquidity interest, probably because people saw the price chart, and then probably because, it takes a while for any startup company to prove itself. And I probably don't need the token to participate in and enjoy Karate Combat. Alex and I say this all the time on the show, but we're just generally not very excited about crypto tokens that are tied to rewarding, earning, and also need to be used for something else, because there's a competing incentive there, right? Like, some people just want to extract the value from that token. And if you're using it to try and capture value other places, it's tough to reach a certain threshold.
Well, and just in general too, the problem that you run into with a lot of those those cryptocurrencies, which is honestly one of the reasons that I'm not overly excited about, to tie it back to gaming, individual games tokens before the game has achieved interest. Is just that if the only incentive revolving around the token is to acquire it, to sell it, it's only a matter of time before you run face first into a wall where you have a large supply of it and the only thing anyone's interested in doing with it is acquiring it to sell it. Overwhelming sell pressure, zero buy demand, except for speculation. The second the hype is out of the equation, you just have overwhelming sell pressure and the token inevitably dies.
And Alex, here's just a quick data point. The backers of Game Token include Lightning Capital, the Arbitrum Foundation, and International Blockchain Consultants, the company that is led by Mario Awful. I mean, Nawful.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
There it is. Yeah.
So like,
Okay.
I'm pretty bearish on like, why do they want to get involved? They want to get involved to make some money. So
yeah.
But game as an ecosystem and all these projects that are doing cool things in the real world to excite fans and probably to get them to use blockchain in ways that they really don't have to think about that much. I'm pretty bullish on that. So I don't know, Lindsay, do you have any takes on this too? Or Alex, sorry.
No, there's just that disconnect that I really, what I want to see more than anything, and this is why I keep wishing that a game would start off with native, like an Avalanche game would start off with native AVAX as the transactional currency in the game ecosystem, or just USDC on whatever chain they're building on until, because like think about Supercell, think about Clash of Clans right now. If they were to tokenize the gem right now and give you a more specific and more advanced way to mine gems in the game and then actually use them to do base upgrades, there would be buy demand for other people's gems, and you could peer-to-peer the Supercell store inside of Clash of Clans using tokenized gems. At this point, RuneScape Gold, Warcraft Gold, at this point, that would have buy demand because people use it all the time, and it wasn't tokenized beforehand, meaning the people who are involved in it as a currency are not in there exclusively to speculate on dollar equivalent value. So now you're at the point where you could do that and potentially actually be useful, rewarding, and mildly adopted. But if you start off before the game even establishes a foothold with any sort of player base that like it for anything beyond speculating, you are going to shoot yourself in the foot before you even get off the ground. And actually, that's why we lost the Core DAO grant, because I made that case and they said, go fuck yourself, we want a token. And I said, sorry, and we lost a bunch of money. Rip.
Interesting. Well, that as you're saying that, it's reminding me. So a couple things come like that this reminds me of. The first is, I don't know if you all saw, I'm assuming you did, but what happened with Nouns DAO and the fork that happened. It's different, different medium and kind of entertainment, but the whole like membership as a token model versus membership as an NFT model has not been figured out by any means. Yeah. And to your point, Alex, to me, which I'm thinking too of the Big Three. Do you all know the Big Three League? It's started by Ice Cube. It's a 3-on-3 basketball league.
Oh, 3-on-3 basketball. I thought you were talking about a crypto thing. Yeah, I do know it.
Yeah. Well, there's a DAO that owns a team. So the Kraus
House. That's cool.
Yeah, the Kraus House DAO. And their whole thing is rethinking fan engagement experiences through sport as well. But it's a DAO. And so they had an NFT membership. And then they had, when the Big Three finals were happening, they had like different rewards based on how active you were in the Discord server. All that was kind of like recorded into your NFT membership. So it wasn't a token, it was an NFT. And Alex, to your point, then that allows the economies where there will be tradable items to pop up naturally rather than forcing it through a token to begin with. So if you wanted to do some type of loyalty or like, I'm trying to think of the right word, but maybe storage of accomplishments, achievements, even just, different skins and things that you collect along the way, that would make more sense to me.
Lindsay and I have not had this conversation already. Because you just said the magic word. That's exactly what I'm constantly whining about. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's just like that. People have heard me say that exact thing about 3,000 times, and for the record, we did not.
Alex will absolutely die on that hill. I'm going to give you both a point for matching.
Please continue.
Well, the possibilities of smart contracts are so, and this is a rant, like a much larger rant, but are so completely underutilized in so many facets. And yes, you can build a token, and that's great. That's great. But there's so many other things that you could be doing that's really, really, really cool. And I think that is, first of all, it's not been figured out. And secondly, because the speculation markets are so huge, there's no drive to do it right now. But that's going to be the kind of technology that actually leads to mass adoption. When you can, when you can have all of your gaming, all of your achievements, all of your awards, all of your skills baked into an NFT that you can transfer game to game to prove what skills you have in a new game, to get properly matched with players, to have decent rounds right away when you start a new game, that's the power of Web3. It's not like a token that you could just trade. So yeah, I'm way more bullish on that.
Oh my gosh.
The
Stuff in
fact
the
that that's
room.
not a thing like is genuinely taking years off my life. Like every time I think about it, it just makes no sense. Little dude.
I mean, matching is like a huge problem in any skill-based competition, and there's so
It's
many ways to
always a
codify
problem.
matching on smart
Well, and not even
contracts.
just matching players versus players, but matching. We've done an MVP around this for like matching consumers and businesses more effectively. I think in a very short amount of time, we're going to look back at like demographic targeted advertising as outdated and sophisticated. Like, why would I spend hundreds of dollars to try and send an ad to every 50-year-old man who's white and owns a bicycle in Memphis when I could use on-chain data to know with hyper specificity every person who's ever looked at, bought, traded a bicycle in the last 20 years, and I don't even need to know their name. And it's totally free. Like, I will be able, as Burger King, to see every one of my customers that holds a Nike shoe and realize, oh my God, there should be a collaboration here. Or this guy shops at McDonald's and he's their most valuable customer. I'll send him a token for $5 off. The matching that will happen on that level too, or even a personal level, finding friends.
Finding work. That's what I think
Work.
is work.
Oh, the credentialing stuff. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense that there's not more attention there, considering that the only thing we give a shit about is money, and the amount of money that companies would save every year
Or generate.
in customer acquisition
Both ways.
cannot be understated. Like it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
Well,
the
you
fact
can
that
also
it's not
build a
thing.
business with hyper specification of products in a way that you couldn't before, which means that like
Yes.
people who otherwise couldn't own a business or operate a business because of startup costs and maintenance costs and seeking out those customers, then can walk in and you can have a customer base of 50 theoretically and survive if you're creating a niche product that has a niche fan base. And so I actually think it allows for like a lot wider array of people and companies to get involved in any transaction that requires a consumer.
So there was a comment, there goes privacy. And I just want to touch on it really quick because I think it's
So ready.
it's fair to have the concern, but actually the part that should really tickle you in the right spot here is that
So bearish on that phrase.
no, give me a point for that, you son of a bitch. Here comes privacy for real, because this is the point. Right now, like, I don't think I'm alone in saying this. Maybe this is a hot take. Maybe it's not. Let me know if I'm off base. I love targeted advertisements because it saves me time. Like I have bought multiple things off of targeted advertisements. The big problem is that my identity is compromised with all of them and I can't escape. There's nothing I can do to escape. If you tokenize that and you put it in a wallet that does not require my full identity, and the reason I'm receiving a targeted advertisement for something is because I hold token X, Y, and Z, the combination of which indicate to anyone looking at on-chain data that I am interested in product Z or whatever. If I no longer want to receive that kind of stuff, dump the token and my wallet's not on the list anymore as an active holder. And there you go. My privacy is intact. It's opt-out targeted advertising that doesn't require my identity to ever be attached to it.
Yeah.
So
It's fully
there you go.
pseudonymous. Yeah. Well, I also, this is the decentralization versus centralization point. My I just put up my book list from 2024, but my nonfiction book of the year was Means of Control by Byron Tao, which is all about how ad data is bought and sold. And essentially, there's actually not a lot of restriction on advertiser ad data. So one step removed, content platforms that show ads have more restrictions on them than the people buying and selling the data that comes from those platforms. And so like it is basically like Alex and I actually talked about this a little bit in relationship to TikTok and the potential ban and how it doesn't really actually matter because the government can buy whatever data they want off of these third-party ad agencies that are one step removed from consumers. And what that means is all of that data lives in a centralized server. I'm sure everyone in chat kind of remembers when it was like American Identity Board or whatever it was got hacked and like everyone's social security number is now out there. The reason why that's possible is because that all lives in a centralized server and a company that controls it and gets bought and sold on the back end by people that we never see, that we never know. In Alex's example, that data actually lives with us on our devices that are unlocked by our pass keys that do not get bought and sold unless we authorize it to be bought and sold. So if Alex wants to have targeted advertisements, he can say, please look at my profile and send me targeted advertisements to save me time. And then he can remove that access later. And so this is actually the future of data privacy. This is the opposite. The opposite impact is that you'll have way more privacy over what you can share versus having faceless companies that have centralized data that they then sell to ad companies that are faceless that they then sell back to consumer companies. And you can go buy it on the internet right now.
Yeah.
And not even the dark web. This is all perfectly legal.
I'd really actually like to pick your brain sometime on the problem of escrow, like that hasn't been solved yet. I have a dusting problem in my wallet. Everybody has a dusting problem. How to encourage that and make it possible. But can we double back just really quick before we at least before we wrap the game up with a bow, to say your thought about why people aren't doing more with smart contracts is so apt. And I just don't get why more entrepreneurs aren't focusing on this, because I think the capital is there. Why, for example, we have, we talked about this in the show before, but for the audience, if you're not familiar, there's a token standard on Ethereum, ERC6551. It's been around for like 2.5, maybe 3 years now. And it's essentially a file folder, a crypto file folder. On-chain, it is a type of token that can hold other tokens. If I want to send my this token there, my that token there, my NFT there. So it could be a package that could anonymously or pseudonymously verify things about me based on what I own or what I have, verified one other way in this folder. And I don't know why many people aren't doing many tokens for every purpose when we have technology like that. Like, why wouldn't a gaming project have a token that is totally fungible, but doesn't have any liquidity, that is like, monopoly money that they can give out and just use as little rewards, that could be tied to an NFT. The person who collected the most game points this month gets an NFT to show they're the most valuable player. And then over time, maybe there's a liquidity pool where you can, I don't know, trade those things. Maybe there's a market for it. Like, tokens are free. Just mint more of them, and they can be programmed to do anything. So like, why are we stuck trying to make one token do everything for our, I don't know why the venture capitalists who keep funding this stuff don't do that. Like, I get the founders.
Is boring. That's why.
I'm so bearish.
Tell me why.
It's awful.
I don't know.
Let's pivot a little bit and hit a few of these tokens that are on the list from some people. And I think that,
do you want to give game a grade first? We didn't give game a grade. I can go. I can say the token is a solid D for me. I'm not interested in it. Maybe even a D minus. But I am very bullish on projects developing in their ecosystem. I think it's a great idea. Keep going, guys. Imagine the future and build it. Lindsay, do you have a grade for them? You're allowed to grade from A to F, or say anything that we would understand as a grade, like.
I was going to give it a solid C in the middle, because I think that the mission is there, but I doubt that it will be adhered to based on the people behind it. So the concept is there. The execution, I have my doubts on. So I'll put it smack in the middle.
Okay. Alex, what about you? Got it.
I don't know. I have a hard time grading these things sometimes, because I am extremely like black and white when it comes to my interest in cryptocurrencies in general. I either get it and I'm into it, which often coincides with things that are not great investments. And then I just like straight up not interested, like hard pass for me. I don't care if it does 1000x, like I don't give a shit. And so for me, for this, like I didn't hear anything that makes me think like I'm going to spend my limited bandwidth going over any of it anymore. I'm good. No hard feelings, but I'm good.
Not ideal.
Not ideal.
Cool.
However,
where do you want to pivot to?
You know, what's kind of funny, Lindsay, is that as we go through these things, we have done this a number of times. We have a pretty extensive report card for a number of different altcoins. Historically and traditionally, the things that get the highest grades are often memey, because in general,
because at least they're telling the truth.
Yeah, honestly, one of the things that I care about more than anything is how authentically representative the messaging around a project actually is. And so if you take something like Pepe, which is just like frog is funny as the entire value statement, I'm like, hey, listen, great. You either think it's funny or you don't. Mm-hmm. That's it. But like, you know, TARS AI or whatever, trying to sell me on some bullshit NVIDIA partnership and some incubator that they probably signed up for is like such a
They paid
misrepresentation.
money for it, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like no, you're like actively lying to people, and I don't give a shit if your token has some sort of utility or not. Like, I'm so bearish on bullshit that I would rather give a high grade to Dogecoin than I would, you know, some random AI thing. And so Pengu has been on the menu to get a grade, and I just wanted to. I think we can hit it kind of quickly without going over it. Evan and I have talked about Pengu obviously a lot. Evan, did you, and Lindsay, did you guys get airdrops of it at all?
No. And I bet Lindsay would have expected. Did you expect to?
I did not.
Oh no.
I've a little bit run away from Solana recently. So
Okay. Well, I expected it because it seemed like people who had wallets that were active in that or even other ecosystems in like 21, 22, just doing stuff. A lot of people got it. And I was like, oh, I'll get it for sure. Nothing.
I got a little bit. So
look at you.
I will flex on you just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
But
I'll give you a point for that.
Had I not, it's one of the things that I would have gotten a little bit of with zero expectations of any return or whatever, but literally just part of my on-chain resume. I would like it known on-chain that like I grabbed a piece of it because I respect Luca and what they're doing. And I think, you know what? Great. You built an IP that people give a shit about. There's a brand. They're doing stuff, whatever. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And I appreciate that. And I think it's authentically represented. So good for that. I do want to say, just because I know people are looking at it and I've seen a lot of concern voiced about the price action, I just want to remind us of a couple things that I think are worth noting. One, it's fresh. It just got here. Two, if you look at a token like this with the way that it came into the world, you would know immediately that it's going to dump like crazy right out of the gate, no matter what valuation it launched at, because you have a tremendous number of people who are now being rewarded with something that they have the ability to liquidate and realize profit from without selling their underlying bullish asset, which would be the Pudgy Penguin NFT. And it makes perfect sense that sending out a reward to all of these people, it makes perfect sense that they would sell it. At least a ton of them would. So, you know, I would totally let it chop. I would let it fall and establish itself and not bet the farm, just because this is totally like the trajectory that I would have expected it to take. And we can look at ApeCoin as a proof concept of this from a couple of years ago, whenever that happened. You know, what it does from here on out depends largely on Luca and the team and the rest of the Pudgy ecosystem. But in general, I think, at least, you know, as far as memes are concerned and as far as, you know, a piece of brand recognition is concerned, that Pengu is exactly where I would expect it to be. So it doesn't lose any points for me for dropping after the airdrop.
I mean, they also had like a really funny interaction on Twitter with American Airlines, and I was like, we're really, you know, Web3 is really getting itself out there. I love to see.
Hey, Lindsay, before we go any further, can you actually really quickly, I saw you posted in the TikTok chat. Can you post again just to say hi? I want to encourage everybody to follow Lindsay. And also, can you give a plug for like what platforms, tell us about your show and where you'd like people to find you and interact with you online?
You've let me talk about myself so much, and now you're doing it again.
No. I you know, it's a show. It's people are coming and going. Yeah. So I want to make sure that they know how to find you when we all leave this place and want to connect again.
And no matter what happens for the rest of the year, you were the first guest on Rise Up.
You were the first guest on Rise Up, darn it.
That's pretty
I'm giving you a point. And I'm giving me a point for bringing it up. And Alex, you can have a point for mentioning that too, because it's historic. Happy New Year,
great
everybody.
way to kick off the year, for real.
Right,
so I host Seeking Alpha podcast. Do you actually have to put the podcast in the end? I thought I came up with a great name, and it turns out that there is another financial advice company also called Seeking Alpha. Which, by the way, that started because in the dating world, I always say I'm an alpha seeking alpha. So that's where that came from. That was off the cuff by yours truly. But I'm on every other platform at Lindsay Poss. Like I said, I just started a TikTok for the podcast this morning, so I can join you all tonight. So I really need to build out that page. But yeah, I am on everything. I'm most active on Twitter and Instagram, especially crypto Twitter. Find me there. I truly love when people slide into the DMs. I love having conversations. I love meeting people in the space. I love onboarding people. Spend a lot of my time doing that. So you can catch me I'm never offline, never log off, you know?
Yeah, basically. I saw Evan McMullen posted like for the people who are like logged off during the holidays, like what? Or something like that. You know, it wasn't meant as a slight, but it came across as like we're here. We're here.
My wonderful boss, you know, as you all, Kim Fournier.
Yeah.
She has 1 point so far tonight, but I think
she's got 2 now.
I accidentally sent her a Slack message that I had been meaning to type to myself, which was no big deal, but it was just my list of like products to test over the break and like things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I just happened to type it in the chat to her, and she commented back, and I was like, oh yeah, this was for me. Anyways, I'm not logging off. See you on here. And we actually like talked about work on Christmas. Like both of us.
It sounds like Alex and I.
when you have so much fun doing it, it's like I don't feel like it's like work. I'm like, no, like I have time today and this thing interests me and I'm just gonna go get it done.
Yeah. Okay, so people can find you personally or Seeking Alpha Pod.
Yes.
And that's the best way to connect. Give us the pitch for Seeking Alpha. Why would we listen to it?
Yes. Okay. So that is co-hosted by me and Larissa Benziak. And it's basically, we call it the intersection of Silicon Valley, crypto, Twitter, and bad Tinder dates. And it's really like a whole broad ranging look at the industry, because I think like I get so many people who are like, I don't really get crypto. And I'm like, first of all, you don't need to get crypto. One day you'll be using it and you won't know. And that's all that matters.
Bullish.
However, the industry and how it works and what we work in is just like a fascinating spectator sport to me. Yeah. Like there's all these conferences, there's events, there's its own language. I mean, it's a weird little cult, if we want to like be real about it.
I call it the wild and wonderful world of cryptocurrency.
Absolutely. believe I've referred to it as such as well. And so it's really about like life in the industry in general. And we try to make it like really fun. You know, we did a similar to your grading. We did a swipe right, swipe left on the top 5 coins by market cap. We've done a whole episode on meme coins, and I put this on the TikTok page, but I talked about my strategy for sliding into the DMs of Jake from State Farm.
No way. That's a video right now on your TikTok profile?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah,
gotta
I
watch
like a whole
that.
strategy. That's the only time I've slid into his DMs, and I'm also like a beleaguered Bears fan. So one day I slid into Jay Cutler's DMs just to thank him for being a bright light after. It was like nothing exciting. I was just like, hey, like we used to have Rex Grossman and then we had you and it was fun for 3 minutes. Thank you for that. And then I got right back out. I was like, I don't want to talk to you ever again. Bye. But yeah, so we talk about life in general too. And it's really a lot of fun.
Well, you're going to get a lot of followers out of this stream. A lot of our friends here are like, she's fabulous. No notes. Give her 14 points. Casey Craig, who you need to know if you don't, said, seriously, no notes. So you'll have a lot of new fans after this.
I don't even know how to use TikTok yet. So it's like, I'm like trying to read any comments. I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
Well, you're hanging on the right place. Alex and I have mastered it just in time for it to be banned forever. So, you know. I want to know what you guys think about this. I would love to touch. We had our good friend and moderator Misty wanted us to give some thoughts on abstract. Alex, I know you wanted to touch virtuals, and then we had some requests for AI tokens like AIXBT, and I thought it might be good just to get your perspective generally, Lindsay, on like not just crypto memes, explaining them to people who don't understand why they matter in cryptocurrency, but maybe a broader conversation about like memetics. You know, like why do we have what are memes and why are crypto tokens a natural extension of them, spreading and sharing ideas and cultural units of information? And then maybe we can touch around like the AI trend. I mentioned butthole and we were talking about like fart coin, you know, before. I feel like that would be a fun, irreverent way maybe to kind of round things out. Alex has left in protest. Yeah. So I will just,
and that's just bullshit.
Have to keep him here like this.
Hey, man.
There we go.
But yeah, we could definitely do that if that sounds good for you.
Yeah, let's kick it off.
Okay, then maybe since Alex walked away. Oh, here he comes. Alex, I don't know if you heard my summary, but how do you feel about going to virtuals next? Because I think you had it pulled up. Is that right? Or are you lying to me?
Yeah.
Am I lying to me?
I did, but I thought we
fact check yourself, brother.
Oh, I swear to God. Every time you hit me with that one.
I was hitting me with it. To be fair, I was hitting me with it. I was just slow.
Okay. Like a personal attack. Asked, did Arlo come on yet? He did, and now he's sleeping. He tuckered himself out by viciously attacking me, and now he's asleep. But no, actually, Evan, just in the interest of time, I was going to say that we maybe table virtuals since we did cover it once, and we do it later.
Yep.
And I wanted to exactly what you were just talking about. There was a request in Discord for abstract.
Yeah.
And I know we've been carrying on a pretty lengthy conversation in one of the premium forums about abstract, and I thought we could share.
Have you heard of this, Lindsay? Because I'm having to
No.
refresh myself on it.
No, give me the lowdown.
Oh, I don't have the
happening?
lowdown yet, Alex.
All right,
You're gonna
hold
have to
on.
low
Okay.
me down.
Misty has actually been, I think.
I'm in that thread. I know about it. I just you caught me with my like brain.
Your
in
butthole out.
Metaphorical
butt-
pants down.
I was gonna sit my pants down, but I thought that would be weird because you can really only see me from the waist up. I just want you guys to know I am wearing pants. I have to show you later. You guys won't be able to see it on the thing, but maybe I can pull it up. Last night for New Year's Eve, I was doing I have an 80s band called The Breakfast Club that plays here in Memphis, and we were doing a New Year's Eve show, and my third outfit of the night, usually I wear 6 or 7. Last night I only wore 3. My last outfit of the night was 2 pairs of white tights so that you couldn't see through them, some furry leggings, some Capezio white crisp dance shoes, suspenders, and a huge floor-length white fur coat. And it was maybe worse than not wearing pants for like if you're just walking around in a bar and you see somebody, but I gotta say it was a lot of fun. Anyway,
Amazing.
had nothing to do with anything. I'm so sorry.
But
But
that gave Alex time to give us the lowdown on abstract.
yeah, Alex, you've surely
We're
had
back.
enough time to prep
Yeah.
now. We're back.
Yeah, guys, I just did the deep dive in the last 18 seconds, and I have
Perfect.
everything you could possibly need to know.
I can catch up on the thread too because Misty has done a lot of help for us there.
And Misty, if you're still here and listening, feel free to drop any one-liners or quick thoughts that you have about this whole thing. But essentially, the goal is kind of as the name implies. We're talking about a protocol, centered around the idea of abstraction, which is something that we've talked about a little bit in general as it relates to crypto and blockchain. Abstraction is the idea of sort of obscuring the tech from the thing that we would like to do with it. So the goal here is basically to make crypto more consumer friendly by focusing on the app or the product or the service that people would be interested in, and not having to do so much worrying about all of the technical nonsense that keeps people out of experimenting with crypto stuff. So think about wanting to experiment with some sort of DeFi thing and getting lost in the create this wallet, connect it to this thing and approve this transaction, sign this and approve this and connect it to this. And okay, also this, and keep in mind gas and this and slippage and blah, blah, blah. All that crap that is just like layer upon layer upon layer of stuff that keeps new people from being able to experiment with it or to get involved without having to do 9,000 things first. That thing that gives you the feeling like, crap, I don't have a degree in computer science. I don't belong here. The thing that I get from this is that Abstract wants to basically capitalize on that whole thing and just focus on consumer applications that don't have a tech forward focus on Web3. We don't actually care about all that sort of stuff. Final example would be, imagine if a video game was leading its pitch to you by saying, we use Firebase to store player data. It's like, oh, cool. What's the game about? No one cares. Right?
Yeah, right.
And so what we want now is to focus on the service and not so much on all the back end tech. And so that's kind of why I'm at least interested in this.
And Alex, let me give you a little more context for our folks
Please.
playing along back home. Abstract, I'm recalling now, is being developed by Igloo, which is the parent company behind the Pudgy Penguins. So they are building an ecosystem now that will support consumer-centric crypto products. They've shown that they know how to do this. They get branding, they get consumers. And so now they're hoping their kind of tagline is to take a page out of Coinbase's book, onboarding the next billion users to Web3. I would actually like to know how many companies are on building the next billion users, because I feel like I hear that all the time. But
Dude,
this
I would
is a
love-
good viable entry.
I would love a list, just for the record, a list of
Yeah.
everything whose tagline is onboarding the first billion. And I'm so bearish on
Well, this is
everybody
the
that
next
uses
billion,
that.
Alex.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
they
yeah.
found
It's
them.
the next one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Also,
I didn't realize the first
it's me.
billion was
I'm
here.
personally doing it one by one, Alex.
Damn it.
I joke about that all the time, actually.
We have shirts. Did you see them? That say onboarding your mom since 2017. I was walking into a gas station and some like little old lady in Memphis said, "I love your shirt," and I'm sure she thought I don't know what she thought it meant, but I felt the need to explain myself because I was like, she
I
probably thinks it's
shudder to
something
think
vulgar.
what she thought it meant.
Yeah, honestly, me too. I was like, I'm very polite.
That's great.
So Lindsay, knowing this a little more, what are your do you have a take on it? Do you have an opinion or suggestion or a good joke or word of wisdom for abstract and people who are looking at it further?
Well, so there's a hunger for Web3 devs across all chains and ecosystems right now. So that's going to be tough competition, competing with a lot of people. Everyone's still talking about the killer app, which I think is BS. I don't think we need a killer app. I think we just need better user experiences across the board for several things. I love this conceptually, but I did quickly click on to see what their bridges were, and it's just Ethereum testnet right now. Like, I mean, if any new kind of L1 is going to survive, the bridging has to be phenomenal and the interoperability has to be great. I'd be super curious to know what language they're using for their developers. So I would say I'm bullish on the mission, but I need to know way more detail for me to think that this is any different than anything that we kind of already have. But what's going on? Oh yeah, pull up the GitHub.
Yeah, and hang on for the folks back home on TikTok. I'll check it out on the screen share here. Hold tight.
I've got first time I've looked at this, but this is the documentation hub for abstract. So we are this. I mean, this would be exactly where I would start. All of the concerns that Lindsay just brought up. This is exactly where I would start. Trying to pull
Lindsay,
that information out of.
When you picked on me earlier for saying I don't think anybody's ever said that about Yakety Sax, whatever I said, I am pretty sure I have never in my life said, "Oh yeah, bring up the GitHub." I think that's when I see myself out.
Alex and I share a brain, so it's gonna be 2-on-1 for a while here, Evan.
Oh,
yes,
no.
it is true. Let's see. Layer 2, ETH layer 2. This is something too.
Yeah, it's an ETH L2. I'm sorry, I meant to say that if I didn't already. I apologize.
Okay.
Lindsay,
when you said what language, I was like, well, it's Solidity, but you know.
Yeah.
ZK stack, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we're is this a base competitor? Maybe. Little optimism super chain action.
It's hard to say.
Everyone speaking English as a second language is in the chat again. Like, what are you talking about?
Dude,
I'm so sorry.
I'm speaking it as a second language right now. I'm right there with everyone looking at this being like, what the fuck? The second I see ZK, I'm just like, hey, listen, I'm just like excited to be here. It sounds great, but please don't ask me any specific questions about it.
Our friend Casey spent some time at Zuzulu and said she was eating calculus for breakfast every day. There were so many people working on ZK. One of my predictions for 2025 is that ZK is not only going to be like a hype trend, but I think there are going to be a lot of things really meaningfully using rollups, ZK specifically, to do just cool little things and stupid things, but more.
Apparently, this is a base contender, which that was a conversation I saw a little bit of in the comment sections on Twitter today with Jesse and a couple other people, as he's asking about, what's the thing that's going to pull people off of Solana, I think was his first question, and over to base. And there was some really good stuff in the comments. And one of the things that I screenshotted and shared in the Discord today was Jesse saying, what about holding Sol as Sol on base? So base wrapped Solana. And I'm just like, I mean, that sounds good.
I'm giving Jesse a point.
Yeah, I'm interested. So I'm very excited for the race to like better consumer products. I'm ready for Web3 and crypto based companies to start competing on the things that general consumers actually give a shit about instead of the stuff that 30 nerds on Twitter care about. And this feels like a good first step. Like getting something else out there that is going to push. And Mike, I know you were here at least a second ago. Mike is someone who is currently working, a good friend of ours, working on consumer-focused applications for Coinbase and Base specifically. Has built very cool, little stuff. My favorite, one of the ones that actually kicked it off, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, kicked off this whole position and journey that you're on right now was the Base token store, which was basically just like shopping cart for tokens on an exchange where you can buy multiple things at the same time. By just loading some tokens you wanted, a couple bucks of or whatever into a shopping cart and checking out all at once with one transaction. And it's super cool.
That
point
is
for Mike.
really cool.
So that kind of stuff. I am excited for more and more and more competition. I'm excited for people to make Mike's job harder. Mike, I'm sorry, but I have no doubt that you're going to continue to crush.
I love the way you framed that. I was just getting annoyed online like 2 days ago at someone saying that they needed derivatives on tokens to be able to trade derivatives, and I was like, that's incredibly lame. Like, you could just launch your own token. Like, we probably will get to Fartcoin, but there's now Unicorn Fartcoin and all these. Like, you can literally do your own thing, and you want to replicate exactly a product that we've had that's overly confusing, that no one gives a shit about, that is for like weird traders on Wall Street, and like, that's your creativity. That's so lame. So to your point, that's a great way of saying it. Like, build products for regular people, not 30 dudes on crypto Twitter who care about it. That's super exciting.
Yeah, I've been stoked for that for a long time, and I'm so like antsy about it. Actually, that was basically the reason, Evan, that I had highlighted that thing. I have no clue if it's going to be any good or not. I actually didn't even really dig that much into it because I sort of got bored. But we found this thing, Lindsay, another pitch that you've heard a million times. If you've been in and around crypto, you've heard this a million times too. It's like, the one-stop shop, the super app kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You just touched on it. It was called Saros, Saros, and it was basically just supposed to be, like it's some application, building in the Solana ecosystem. It's a wallet, it's a DeFi interface, it's a yada yada, it's whatever. And I wanted to take a look at it. Yeah, exactly. I was curious to put it on the short list, like, I'm interested in at least giving this a shot because, maybe it's a piece of shit. But at least it's like taking a stab, and, like, I'm okay. I'll hear the pitch on anyone taking a stab at like making a better application. Because I mean, that's something that people can relate to. That's more understandable. Like, yeah, here's an app that does whatever. It's like, okay, it's a tale as old as time. We've heard it a million times. The app either sucks or it doesn't. It's either something I'm going to use or it's not. And I'm just really excited. That's one of the reasons I'm so excited about Saga and Seeker is I'm stoked for people to have relatable tech. Even if it's garbage, we have to start somewhere. So give me a crypto cell phone. I don't care if it's a piece of shit. Give me the handheld crypto gaming console. I don't care if it's a piece of shit. Like, give me something that we can, iterate on and improve on and go from. And
have you been in my meetings? Get out of my brain. I just had this argument about the Sui handheld because someone was like, no, it's way too early. We shouldn't be doing that. I'm like, listen, I don't care if this thing sells 1,000 units and sucks ass. The fact that they're encouraging developers to build games for it, that they're going to sell any units, like, this is an amazing starting point. It's an amazing starting point. Like, absolutely, give me all that stuff. Try it, test it, see what happens.
Yeah, and I'm excited to be like 10 years on the other side of this, and it'll be like the LG chocolate moment for crypto devices. I know a lot of people who wish their iPhone looked more like a BlackBerry, for example, and nobody uses those anymore. But like the early adopters, the people who, one day will be like, oh man, you remember MetaMask? That was I was so fond of that. I don't know that anybody else said that, but like, that kind of thing.
You just aged yourself with the LG chocolate moment. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I loved it. There was a real moment where people were like avant-garding cell phones, with like swirly buttons and weird stuff.
Dude, I vividly remember when the LG Envy was proposed, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I remember seeing the concept photos for that phone when it was first, put out, and I was like, nothing like this will ever exist. This is incredible. And now, of course, you look at it like the first cutting tools of the Neanderthals or something like that. And it's just hilarious. But so I would push back just really quick before we leave the device thing, just to say, when Saga came out, I vividly remember, again, Saga launching and people not being excited about it and thinking that it was stupid and we didn't need this right now and this is nonsense, whatever. And I just felt like I was losing my mind because I'm like, I am so excited about this. There are no crypto-focused hard tech reviewers, and tech content is one of the most popular genres on the internet. Like, Marquez Brownlee is one of the biggest YouTubers on the planet, and all he does is talk about technology. And he's gotten to the point where he probably participated in the bankruptcy of Fisker. So, just because he gave it a shitty review and they reacted poorly.
Hey, Alex, real quick, can you contextualize this? Saga is a what? Like, we're talking about devices, but brief.
It's a cell phone. Yeah, okay. Saga is a cell phone being worked on inside of Solana. Anatoly primarily is kind of leading and chairing, and Mert will talk shit about him all the time.
But he has a background in like cell phone development.
Yeah, and he's been working a lot on it, and now they're on Seeker, which is the part 2. Saga had a little bit of a rough start. it wasn't widely adopted, which I think is totally fine. Just like Lindsay said, it's fine if these things sell 100 units and they are a piece of crap, because you've got to start somewhere. And I mean, I just think it's exciting. But anyway, they sort of, and one of my good friends was a lead mobile developer for Saga when it first launched. On the software side, he'll tell you that Bonk saved that thing and sort of kicked off the meme craze, and that Seeker's pre-orders are probably pretty significantly related to the theoretical future of airdrops that could or could not happen around that device in the pre-orders. But since then, since that announcement, rather, we have also had the Solana PSG-1, which is like a Game Boy looking device, which is the competitor with the Sui OX Play, OX1 Play, or OX Play 1 or something like that. I can't remember. And actually, our friend that we met at Emergence, who is with Pith, is pretty, I guess, friendly with those guys, and has told me that he's going to try really hard to get me one, because I would really like to review it. And anyway, I brought up Marquez Brownlee just to say that he actually reviewed the Saga on his channel. You can go watch the review. And I thought that he gave it a really like objective shake, considering that it would have been so easy as a big tech YouTuber just to shit talk the crypto side of the whole thing. And I thought he gave it a really fair assessment and said exactly what I expected it to be. A mediocre phone with a few crypto features that is not the worst thing he's ever seen, but really nothing super remarkable. And he's curious to see where it goes from here. So very curious I hope he does Seeker as well. I'm sure he will, and compares them, and we can see, like, did we make any improvements? If no, where should it have been? Whatever. Because I like to think that we're at the beginning of.
Well, and it's hard to have an expectation. Like you said, we just have to make stuff. And it's okay if it's crappy, because what does a crypto device even look like? We don't know. We didn't really know that cell phones, a killer feature would be texting. We didn't know that browsing would be a thing until it was. We didn't know that Bejeweled would be a thing until it was. So it seems obvious maybe to say you'll use this device to send or receive or spend or share crypto related stuff in a more native way. But I think there will be a lot of features that don't become apparent until the devices emerge. That's kind of a trend in tech. Lindsay, you've seen it a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, that is my whole issue with the killer app. Like, if there was going to be a killer app, it would already exist right now today. Like, we would know exactly what that product market fit is. Like, I think that thinking of it as, one app that's going to onboard people, whatever that is so creatively limiting, because that doesn't leave you space for what doesn't exist yet. And so, yeah, that's exactly my whole issue with people not putting more into testing, trying, seeing, figuring out, and then allowing the creativity to build on top of that. And instead of focusing on, this is going to be the one that carries us for the next 10 years. Like, no, it's not. This industry is so young. We have no idea what's really going to hit. So yeah, I hate the killer app argument.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good, we could pivot to a little bit.
But we got to give it a grade. You can't move on until we got a grade abstract. Okay, quick. I went first last time. Lindsay, what's your grade for abstract? Would you spend more time or attention with it?
Yeah, I would spend more time on it. I don't know. My 2025 goal is to be in a lot more ecosystems. So with that in mind, I'm going to give it a B- with a hopeful raise. I grade on a curve, I think. I think I'm too nice.
That's fine.
No, I don't think so. I was gonna give it a B or a B+. I love that it's the Igloo team. I love that they have ambition. I love that they've got some proof. I want to see some more proof in the pudding in terms of like what's building there, not just mind share and not just money. What do you say, Al?
I'm super stoked. I mean, I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm not at a point where I'm gonna like buy anything. I don't even know if I can buy anything at this point. But that's not where my mind goes. I'm just excited, exactly like I said, to watch this hopefully spur better competition into things that people actually give a shit about. So I'm a thumbs up. I'm excited to see more, and I'll be following it closely. So I expect to talk more about it.
What do you think? Could we round this out by talking a little about memes generally, AI meme tokens specifically, and then some of the weird meme trends we have seen? This is still live for anybody who's asking. Does that seem like a good tack? I'm going to refresh the room really quick, but yeah, you're on board for it. Cool. Lindsay's like, yeah, I'm here, dude.
I'm down.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I have a couple mentions from one of our Premium Plus subscribers who tossed out a few tokens in case we had time to get to everything.
I'm in for it. Listen, let me hear what they say.
Evan, I'm pretty sure we did well, right? That one's happened.
We've done it on a much earlier episode. That's right.
Okay.
My limited thoughts on it are Moonwell as a protocol does not excite me as much as anything else I see on base in the DeFi space, because I think they struggle to find interesting product market fit that isn't better elsewhere. Like their liquidity isn't as deep, their incentives aren't as strong, they don't have tokens that as many people seem to want. And that's not the perspective of a user who's there every day, but I check in on it a lot because people seem to be interested in it. I don't know. I just think there are other places with more proof in the pudding, and it's had spikes in activity, but I don't know. It doesn't get me going the way a lending protocol like Morpho does, the way Aerodrome does, as I'm like speculating on DeFi and base. That's my take.
Yeah. As we talk about lending, so just for a little bit of context here, as we look at check the llama real quick. Just as far as lending goes, it's in the 3rd spot. So it's cool. As we look at it, like on the month too, it's losing TVL in favor of the bigger, badder protocols that are facilitating lending on base. So Morpho, Aave, of course, is an absolute fucking titan. I'm more interested in those things, and I don't see really any reason that like Well would overtake them. But I would also concede that I should refresh and bring my memory on Well up a little bit more current, just because it's one of those things I just haven't had like the bandwidth to stay up on, because I'm not invested in it. I don't feel like I ever will be. And if I'm looking at things to facilitate lending, I'm pretty firmly looking at Aave. And then more recently, Morpho as it enters the picture as far as base is concerned.
Do you have any thoughts to add, Lindsay?
I don't have anything to add. Yeah, I'm out of my depth on this one.
No worries.
Okay. There's so many
I think,
tokens.
and again, we've talked about it before. I would be happy to pick that back up in Discord and do kind of just a comparison on like lending protocols in the base ecosystem, which is actually a piece of this colossal series that I've been writing and working on for a little while. Is how to get involved in DeFi. Base is of course a huge piece of it, and Aave is actually the focal point. So we'll do a comparison in there for sure. And then the other two that Prater tossed out there are STOS, which I'm completely unfamiliar with.
Yeah, interesting.
And Iron, which I'm also completely unfamiliar with.
Isn't Iron, wasn't that an old Trader Joe Avalanche DeFi thing? Or is that like...
It's Iron Fish. It's a ZK like L1 kind of a play is what I've gotten from just first impressioning it. But let me switch the screen share over to it, and
Iron
let's
Fish. Okay, you check that, and I'll give a first impression on STOS.
Okay. So Lindsay, one of the ways that we'll hit a token here if we've never heard of it and completely unfamiliar is to totally fresh pull up the homepage and just first impression it and see if, based on what you see on the homepage, would you be incentivized or interested in clicking around into it anywhere else to look, or if not, why not? So I'm going to kick it to you, actually.
Are you going to pull up the website on her first impression? Yes. Okay, let me give a screen share and a drum roll, because you got to have that. Hang on, let me get the screen for the folks who are playing along at home. This is what token, Alex?
This is called Iron Fish. The ticker is just Iron, IRON.
And the drum roll as Lindsay takes her time.
So, Lindsay, while you look at this, just the couple quick stats on the math, or the number side here, rather. This is a 22.5 million market cap project with almost the entire supply circulating. Fully diluted valuation is only $2 million more. It's teeny tiny, itty bitty little market cap. It is kind of been around for a while. It actually launched, it looks like in early 2023. It has a chart that looks very similar to how ICP launched. With a ticker or a token price of about $8, and it's currently sitting at 41 cents, where it basically has not really been able to achieve what it did in 2023. Every single number that could be read is read. Relatively low trading volume, but again, it's pretty tiny, so that kind of tracks according to its size. But
someone in the comments said, "No, Alex, it's average size."
Yeah, I love that.
It's totally average size. That is,
it's so big.
Way up there, you get a point for that one. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was good.
I agree.
All right,
Okay.
Lindsay, what do you?
They have
Any-
decent backers, which is good. But
That's what's catching my eye too.
Yeah, what concerns me is that the exciting news is from 2021 and 2023, which does unfortunately the kind of track with what you're saying, Alex, that it launched with a lot of momentum and hasn't been able to necessarily do what it says it's going to do. Can you go back up for a second? Zero knowledge layer. This is okay. So one thing that I always struggle with, and is someone in this space, like I have technical knowledge that is, we all have our own basis, right? I can never tell, and this was my problem with Abstract too. What chain are you building on? Are you building your own chain? And what are you interoperable with? So like, yeah, I have no issues with someone building a ZK system. Can I use that on my MetaMask wallet? Like, what am I using it for? And so that's, to me, the way it sounds is that they built their own layer one specifically for, it says a zero knowledge layer one blockchain. So
and if I had to guess, the logos in that picture probably represent the chains they do or aspire to partner with. Like it could be really accurate or really misleading, but that's what I guess.
Which is great, but do you? How would I use this? Is this a B2B? Is this a B2C? Are you looking to develop to get bought out by someone who can then incorporate this? Are you looking to develop to work with several teams at the same time? Like, not
great questions.
I can't see the roadmap from this clearly, and the fact that the exciting news is from 2021 and that was their big raise is concerning.
Yeah, I agree, and I loved the partnership list. Like, for people who don't know, A16Z is probably the most prominent venture capital name with the best reputation in our space if you go by size, and also by like how long they tend to hold their portfolio companies and the ways they support them. You could argue that, but that's what I would say. I would say Sequoia is a really big name. Dragonfly, I like a lot because of how public they are and like just the reputation that I think the people involved with them have. But I don't know. It makes sense.
Their COO is also named Lindsay and also worked at Stellar. So I like Dragonfly.
I would really love to get to get a closer conversation with some of them because a couple of the folks there participate in the Onchain podcast, which I love. Also, they give fantastic takes, very helpful. Alex, what are you thinking about this as you look at it?
You know, right now I'm trying to find a reason to keep looking, and I'm having a little bit of a hard time coming up with anything.
Me too.
I'm not upset about the design of the website. Like it's easy to poke around and navigate, and there's a ton of stuff here that I can see. Like Misty pointed out there, their socials seem to be pretty dead, which is a problem. Now is not the time to be quiet at all.
No.
So that's a little
or not to be making a splash of any kind.
Yeah, and you know, Lindsay, like you said, if I look at this and your homepage is showing me a bunch of venture capital firms that invested, I'm immediately like, okay, I know why you did that there. I'm not a big fan of the fact that you chose to. It kind of speaks to like immaturity for me. Like, what does this mean? This means like, okay, why did your token price dump to absolute shit right after you launched it? Oh, because all of these guys gave you a shitload of money, and your only article here is about, raising tens of millions of dollars to start, and now you haven't really shown me anything since. So like, I'm pretty much just like trying to find a reason not to disqualify them, and I'm struggling a little bit.
I don't think it's for us, Al. As I read this project, I go with what Lindsay said first about like, who is this for? And to me, this is for maybe somebody who might want to buy me, raise money, like to fund me. It seems kind of developer focused. Like, this is not a website I would share with my mom to help her understand why crypto is going to solve a problem. Like, it's for crypto people.
A great proof of that is if I go over here to use, I don't know what half of this shit is.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just tell me to use your ecosystem. That tells me nothing. Node app, Node CLI, like, great. Okay. Mining. Okay, great. Whatever. And your blockchain explorer. So like, what can I do? I can acquire the token and I can look at people's stuff. And then here's some vague thing about your
It seems oriented towards like people who might want to build an app, and what information would they need to like think about building here, or like establishing a protocol that would do something on top of this. They've got the money raised, but now they need somebody to actually build something for them.
Yeah,
Please build something.
Well, it's the timing of it for me. If this had launched 2 months ago and they had a $28 million raise and all these great venture partners, I'd be like, let's see where this goes in a year. Yeah. But it's unfortunately been a year and it's not looking great.
Okay, so
Yep.
would you give it like a no further look? I would probably give it a D.
Yeah.
Are you
I'm
going to
not-
give it a more
I'm-
generous grade again, Lindsay?
No, I'd be sending it back to JV. It's on the JV squad. That's the
Oh,
grade
it's
I'm
a
giving
JV.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Al?
I don't know. I'll be honest. If someone asked me about it, I would look back at it. I would be a little bit curious just to poke through any of those apps that they had on the, who is in our ecosystem and just see if any of them are doing anything. But I'll be the first to say too, I have seen and witnessed and been one of those developers on an ecosystem where the ecosystem died and then the apps just sort of like hadn't quite figured out yet that their host was dead. And so they were still sort of there. So like, that's a big problem to me, like
From
Missy
personal
said.
experience, maybe?
Yes. From very specific. For me, the grief is still too near.
Apologies
like a
for
personal
bringing that
problem.
up.
Evan, that was a line from a movie. Don't come for me, by the way. Lindsay,
Thank you.
joke, an inside joke that everyone shares that you can be a part of too is if you ever have the opportunity to reference pop culture, make sure that you immediately point out what it was and then make fun of Evan for not knowing the
For
reference.
Got
almost
it.
certainly not knowing it. Sorry.
Okay, I will. Evan, you and I are matched with movies though, because I don't watch films. However, I
Well,
will
it's
be making
funnier.
a lot of girl internet references. That's where my strength is. So
Okay, all right, great. I actually my girl internet references are fairly strong because my fiance Kimberly is, not just girl internet references. If it's happening in the world and you can learn about it on the internet, Kimberly already knows about it. So she balances me out.
that's perfect. Not
Yeah,
movies though. Not
I'm a
the
fan
film.
of both. And it's funnier from Evan, Lindsay, just because Evan is an actor and he was just in a TV show and he still doesn't know anything that's ever happened on
Listen,
TV or
man.
movies.
Listen, pal. Fact check yourself, brother. Moving on. Do you want to hit Stratos just really quick? I'll tell you about it. We can do a quick grade because I
Yes.
want to get to this conversation about memes. And,
What is the URL? I'll pull
well,
up.
it is thestratos.org. Stratos. Thestratos.org.
They went to Ohio State.
Yeah, they went to the Ohio State University. Yeah.
Okay,
so
wait,
fair.
quick aside, because I love talking shit about universities that have overinflated egos. One of my teachers in high school told us a story about his orientation when he was getting onboarded into the high school. This is my favorite teacher, and he's like, he was a U of M grad. And so they went around the room and all the teachers were basically saying like, what do they teach and where did they graduate from? And this woman introduced herself as a history teacher and she graduated from the university and that's where she left it. And everyone's like, what the fuck does that mean? And she was from U of M, which she referred to as the university. And everyone's like, oh my God.
Okay. There's no other ones. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that's
right.
it.
Nothing.
Okay, so really quickly too, I said I would reset the room and I totally didn't do it. If you're just joining us, our guest is Lindsay Poss. We are here for Rise Up After Dark. This is the very first Rise Up production in the new year. Welcome. We're so glad you're here. If you want to submit an altcoin for our research prospects in the future, the best place to do it is in the Rise Up Discord server. The link is on the screen wherever you're watching. I'm going to throw it up on YouTube, and we will have Lindsay's links in the description, in the comments. She is at Seeking Alpha Pod on TikTok for our friends watching there, and at Lindsay Poss, Poss, everywhere else, Lindsay with an E.
Lindsay
We're
with
researching an A. Oh my God, I'm kind of blind. Lindsay with an A.
Evan, damn it.
There's also like a secret war between E Lindsays and A Lindsays that you are
I totally know.
you are
I
grossly
absolutely
putting
know.
me on the wrong side of.
I am so sorry. I'm deducting a point from myself for that.
You'll hear from the Council of Lindsay's for this one.
I absolutely will.
You
Please.
will.
I'm so sorry, guys. So we're looking at some of our suggestions. They come from our Discord. And if you want to leave a suggestion, you want to ask us a question, that's the best place to do it. Discord.gg/riseup. A special shout out to all our friends who are premium supporters are like the lifeblood of that community. They make it possible for us to scale up the effort to educate more people totally for free. You don't have to spend any money to learn from us, but if you want us to, like highlight your picks and be sure to laugh at your jokes and stuff like that, then subscribing to Premium Plus doesn't hurt. Commercial is done. Tell me about Stratos. Well, here's what's happening with STOS token. I'd like to know why it's in the news lately, because it looks like this has been around since 2021, when it had sort of an interesting run up in terms of price action and attention, and now is just kind of going sideways. It is the token for the Stratos network. It's a coin, it sounds like, for a layer one, which is Stratos is a next generation decentralized data mesh designed to provide scalable, reliable, self-balanced storage,
Totally.
computation storage for blockchain and Web3 applications. I understand why they call themselves the Stratos network. You know, it sounds like maybe an Akash competitor, a Filecoin competitor. I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to look further, but it sounds designed to appeal to highly technical people. My mom is never going to touch this website. Maybe investors who are trying to pick up on the next hot narrative. If this company raised a lot of money and is trying to remain relevant, maybe they've done something to capture some mind share. Maybe they finally found product market fit, but I doubt it. I say that sounded harsh. I say that just because, like, you know, they do NFTs, they do DeFi, they've got stuff. I've never heard of it, which doesn't mean anything, but you know, it's all about mind share and are people actually using your products in a meaningful way? And if you've been around for 5 years and we haven't heard about you, that's usually, I'd be interested to know why it came up.
For the Stratos Maxis to sound off in the comments if you're
Oh,
out there.
please, if there are Stratos Maxis, let's hear it. Honestly, truly. Does Stratos have Maxis? I would be more bullish if they did.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, look at the website. They even had that logo that's doing like the we're a tech company. We're so innovative, like black and white.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just the vibe it gives me.
So this is actually one of the things I've spent a little bit more time looking at as a narrative inside of crypto. It's something I'm very interested in and I've never seen done well. And my source for that is actually by making my dad look at all of them.
Alex's dad, the dev.
Yeah, my dad is a old school, extremely accomplished software engineer who's been doing stuff ever since you could be doing stuff. Helped with the Android collective, all sorts of stuff, has been involved in the world of software engineering for an extremely long time. Knows a ton, is my litmus test for all this stuff.
He's a nerd, Alex. We get it.
My dad,
Giant
nerd. Your dad.
One of
sorry, could know myself.
One of the things that I had run by him at one point is decentralized storage solutions, because as a concept, I'm unbelievably bullish on the idea of fragmenting and decentralizing data storage. I just think it's such a cool idea. It's so dry and boring, and it's exactly the kind of stuff that I'm interested in blockchain for. One of many things, but interestingly, most of them are straight bullshit, and they pretty much all just use AWS in some capacity. And, you know, one of the things that I think is very commonly misunderstood about AWS is that it's not really centralized storage. It's pretty spread out. Believe it or not, Amazon and AWS, the thing that hosts a gigantic chunk of the internet, has actually taken some pretty significant measures to make sure that they don't just go offline if one computer shorts out. So it's a pretty big and unfortunate misconception in the data storage world that data storage is centralized to the point where like there is a single point of failure. Now, it is absolutely worth noting that in the realm of centralization, that is which company holds the keys, 100%, absolutely. Like Amazon is the king of AWS, of course, like duh. I would not, But most of these decentralized storage solutions, they don't really change the name of the game at all, except that they like maybe there's some sort of like DAO structure with their, you know, with their infrastructure and whatever. Like maybe they decentralize a different piece of it, but at its core, honestly, usually the storage is worse than AWS. It's not as reliable. It's more expensive. It's slower. And it's honestly usually stored in less places, so it's actually less secure and less safe as well, you know, but perhaps there's not some sort of like known Web 2 boogeyman that is like holding the keys to it. So in that case, immediately I'm like apprehensive of decentralized storage solutions because I have yet to see one like work well or, you know, do it more properly. However, I am anxiously like looking for that. So I would probably be inclined to agree with Raphael here, just to say like these things really just want to raise money. They do it effectively, and that's sort of the name of the game in a lot of crypto projects. That's kind
Raphael showed up for the Stratos Maxis though at the end of the day. To the moon.
Yeah.
I'm giving Raphael a point for that string of comments. Thank you.
I don't know. That rambly nonsense is where I'm at with this.
What do you have to add, Lindsay, before we give it a grade and send it off?
Did you see the tweet that said we're building a 10-lane highway for 4 cars and everyone needs to stop with infrastructure?
I know, but I love that.
Yeah,
I get it.
been thinking about that a lot, and this just reads like that, where it's like, oh,
Who tweeted
cool.
that?
I honestly don't remember, and it was
It's a banger.
yeah, it was a really good. I think of it.
That's
It was a
amazing.
while ago too. That was like a beginning of 2024 tweet that I've still been thinking about because 2024 was supposed to be use cases. 2025 is supposed to be consumers.
Mhm.
See what happens.
I love that. I wrote that. I'm gonna write that down, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna steal
this
that
is
for sure.
that, and that's great. Good for it.
Good for it. That's my grade. That's my grade for Stratos. Is good for you.
You get a very sarcastic double thumbs up. Nice.
Yeah. I wouldn't spend any more time looking at it. I would be interested to know what the news has been, like why this person has heard about it, or if they stumbled upon it in some sort of deep dive of the internet. So if you're, that's Prater. If you're watching now or in the future, first of all, hi, hope the future is going well. And let us know what attracted you to this, why you paid attention to it, and what you think. Were we totally off base? Are we nuts?
Yep.
Let us know. I would love to. We're going to go around in a second. Do we have you? Can we go just a little past the hour, Lindsay, or do you have a hard stop?
We're good.
Okay. Then I would really love to have this meme conversation and touch on the AI and, the fart coin and unicorn farts and et cetera. And then we've got to go around. We've got to pick a winner for the game. There is still a chance, but it's like a Dumb and Dumber chance. I hate to tell you, Alex, but you are in second place behind Lindsay's considerable lead right now. So congratulations, Lindsay. Don't slack too much, though.
Rigged.
The game is rigged, but you could still win, Alex. You could still win.
I need
send
chat
me
to sound off for more points. That's
Yeah. I would love to
helpful.
award more points to the chat. I would love to award more points to anybody, and we are gonna take more altcoin suggestions, etc. Next week we'll do final thoughts. We'll do all that stuff. But now I want to talk about memes. Because we had a lot of comments about memes, about AI meme tokens. Some specific notable ones that I've seen a lot lately are Cerebro, AIXBT, AI16Z, tokens for AI agents. I just want to set the table that are doing some interesting stuff with crypto. For folks who maybe are new to this conversation at the intersection of crypto and blockchain, Lindsay or Alex, do you want to give history, or do you want me to just summarize the moment we're in really quick? Or would it be helpful, do you think, to start with memes as a concept and meme tokens and why they might matter for somebody who struggles to understand with the speculation? I'm not sure what the best place to start is.
Yes.
Great.
No, I'm with you. I have a podcast episode called "What the Fuck Are Meme Coins?" So if you
Then please, Lindsay, lead this. Feel free.
Take it off.
well,
Take the show over.
I did a lot of the research for that one, but no, I mean, a lot of that episode was going through Pump That Fun as well. And actually, Evan, you start, because I want to know more what you all have to say, because I want to know what your audience knows too, and how you all have been talking about them first before I jump in.
Okay. Al, do you want to go first? Or you want me to take it?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. No, actually, so one of the things that I spend way too much time doing is defending my appreciation of the idea of a meme coin in general. My opinion on the subject is an interesting dichotomy of just like pure vitriol and then also like unabashed appreciation. There's a mouthful, but in general, I like the idea. The idea is essentially monetizing internet culture. Memes have been around since the dawn of the internet. They are funny and enjoyable, and who remembers, like on Instagram, right? There was Fuck Jerry and Trash Can Paul, and like these accounts are still live today. They are still cranking them out. Like there are so many memes, and the intersection of meme culture and crypto been around for a while. Sort of the idea of just like making a joke or a mockery of something that is silly to somebody, with the forking of Bitcoin and the creation of Dogecoin, and essentially that kicking off an entire genre, niche, and industry within an industry. So in general, I'm a fan. The only thing really, truly, that I wish had a little bit more attention is, I always say Vegas is fun. Vegas existing does not mean that my 401k is worthless. So memes and the rest of crypto can coexist peacefully. Memes and DeFi can coexist without one of them having to steamroll the other one. I just wish that we were more deliberate about the emphasis on what we're doing with meme coins, which is pulling the lever on a slot machine. And that's fine, and that's fun, and good for you. Don't sit down at the table with your rent money. But crack a beer
And
throw
wear
20
your
bucks at
helmet,
one.
right, Alex? Wear your
Wear
helmet
your
and your
helmet.
pads. Which
Yep.
means what for people who are new, and for Lindsay, who even though she's seen this show, she may never have heard you give. I love hearing you talk about your helmet.
Yeah,
Such a weird thing to say.
Yeah, I don't know. If you just jumped in right there, I'm sorry. Honestly, you're not. I don't.
Not
know.
gonna make it.
No, it's a PvP arena. What does that mean? Player versus player. Memes are competitive. Generally, it's a race to see who can pull the trigger faster. You throw money in there, the money all goes into the same pot, and it's sort of just this like hot potato thing. And inevitably, with every single meme that's ever existed, especially the ones that have run their course and disappeared, there is a group of people holding a worthless bag of nonsense that they paid a lot of money for. And the person who made the money took the money from that person, which is why I hate influencer meme coins so much, because you're like preying on someone's appreciation for like you as a creator, and you are forcing your most loyal fans to become that salty group of bag holders that hurt themselves out of trying to support, out of a desire to support you as a creator, which is awful, super unethical. I have no respect for any of you. I'll die on that hill, and I'm coming for all of you this year. That's like my solemn promise to all of you.
So they should put on their helmets and pads.
Oh, you need to put on way more than a fucking helmet. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what.
My dad.
But no, like, you know, as far as Pepe is concerned, or I mean, I always tell the story of, you know, one of the biggest meme coin wins I ever had was this thing called Boeing with hole, which happened right after that plane lost a door mid-flight. It's just like, that's hilarious.
A great meme.
That's gonna do numbers, and it did. And I won that game. So no, I'm generally a fan. I've made several videos about it. You know, like it's gambling. Like as long as we just are honest about the fact that it's gambling. And Lindsay, this brings me back to my final point on this subject, which is all I want is proper representation. And as long as memes are open and authentic about the fact that they are memes, and that's what we're doing. We're trading hype and attention. We've monetized internet culture, and most of them are gonna, you know, fizzle and die.
And really quick, before you respond, Lindsay, can I pull on that thread just to say that's how we talk about it a lot with our audience when we contextualize this forum is we let them know that memes are helpful to understand as a medium, not just funny cat pictures, but any easy to understand. And because of the internet and the tools that we have to communicate with each other on the internet, share with another person. It is the internet native equivalent of a single cell multiplying, a virus spreading from one animal to another, for an organism developing and multiplying. It is what happened when somebody somewhere invented the wheel and told 10 people, and then somebody traveled with it. It is natural selection for ideas on the internet, and not necessarily the good ones, but the strong ones, the ones that resonate with people emotionally, whatever, they survive, they proliferate. And crypto tokens specifically have given a certain type of velocity to memes on the internet that they, are able to, we can speculate on them in the form of a token. We can trade our attention. And in a world where pretty much the only way we measure value is dollars and cents, even though most of the value in the world is like not monetary and certainly not tangible, it is the way that we have at present to communicate and make meaning about these ideas in a crypto form. So that's kind of the context we give to the whole thing. And generally speaking, when we see a trend happen, whether it's, Will Smith slaps Chris Rock at the Oscars, a Boeing gets a hole in it, or in like the crypto space, we're doing very niche specific stuff. We're paying attention to AI tokens now.
Right.
So when that meme gets created, something new or novel or interesting happens in the world, and the attention is there, the token sort of follows as a reflection of what I sometimes call mind share that a meme has. And, as attention is, fleeting and the world moves at a fast pace, memes tokens often reflect that.
Well, okay. So there's I have 5 threads to pull on. And I'm going to try to run through them. The first is you're talking about memes and meme tokens as meaning. I think to Alex's earlier point, they can also be a form of identity. So I know about this thing and I'm interested in this thing, and that's why I hold this thing. I think that the speculation market far outweighs those two ideals to begin with. Memes as meaning and memes as identity, just because making money is the more exciting part of it. And every meme trading chat that I'm in, doesn't really matter where the original meme started, just matters if the token's pumping or not. So there's multi sides to this. The second is, as you're both talking about it, one of the things that I'm personally realizing is that when it comes to meme coin culture, there's a difference between sharing in a moment on the internet, which I love. That's a meme. That's great. Influencer or idea worship or support, which is more of an identity kind of layer to that. And then, oh my gosh, there was a third one that I'm forgetting. But just in the difference between those two things, one of the issues with the discourse that I have right now is those audiences are largely not separated. Like we have them all under meme tokens, but buying something like being rugged by Hawk to a girl is a very different experience than like putting some of your savings into Pepe. And that fact that
Can we
that's
just
like,
appreciate like that sentence
Yeah,
in a
the sentence.
vacuum really quick?
yeah.
Like if you were
Does
just
this
to
make
pop
it harder
in,
to explain to non-natives? Yes, it does. Indeed.
clip that moment
Indeed.
and give it to Lindsay as an NFT of some sort. Just the sentence, getting rugged by the Hawk to a girl is very different than putting your savings in Pepe.
Into Pepe, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, actually the way, and I will say like this does, so all of this like talk and language around memes is also the talk and language of the shared internet. So in some ways it makes it harder to explain. In some ways it makes it easier to explain because like Hawk to a girl, for example, is a shared language across the internet. And so like explaining to someone like, oh, you can show your interest or your loyalty or whatever by like participating in this thing that you own is like maybe an easier way. So anyways, that's like a little bit of an aside. But as we get deeper and deeper into the vast amount of meme coins, and Pumped Up Fun is the example that like I think we all know, I think that the distinction between why people are doing it and what they're doing it for is going to be just as vast as the distinction that we're all on the internet for the first place. And so like lumping it under one umbrella and then trying to like pick apart the reasons why everyone's under that umbrella is really confusing and complicated. And so I'm kind of actually looking forward to whatever dissertation is written about this.
Yeah, exactly. I think there have been some even already. I don't have them on tap, but I could find them for you because I've read a couple. I know.
Okay.
My phone just died. We've lost the people on TikTok. It's all my fault. It's absolutely all my fault. I'm going to take away a point for myself. But the good news is this recording will live on in infamy forever on all the places we've streamed it. So anybody who's there in the live event, it was always ephemeral and meant to die. And here it will live forever. So carry on. Will you let them know in maybe our Discord server, Alex?
Yeah, time out. If I unmute myself on the phone, Evan, will my voice come out of the TikTok live?
Try it. Give it a try.
All right, time out.
The worst that happens.
Everybody else hold tight.
Yeah.
Hold tight while Alex fixes. I'm going to give Alex a point for trying to fix this. I can't hear him, but I can just see him.
I know.
Evan's
and I love
phone
how
died.
close he is to the camera. We're getting a really up close and personal look at his beard and mustache right now.
Alex has got a well-groomed beard.
Yes. I can see that.
You guys are making this really hard.
Oh, sorry.
Good.
For everybody else, hold tight. This is a good time if you haven't already. If you're watching the show live, to check out the Rise Up Discord server. It is the place where if the show gets rugged, we live 24/7. We're happy to take your questions. It's totally free. It's a great place to hang out on the internet when you're trying to learn about cryptocurrency because, like Lindsay said earlier, this is a fun, just interesting place to be. And it can be kind of hard to navigate, not because you have to be super smart or super technical to hang out here, but just because there's some stuff that takes a little bit of like wisdom and experience to kind of recognize. And everybody here is pretty helpful. Like they don't care how old you are, if you're from the United States or from Nepal. And if you're interested in learning more, I don't know about you, Lindsay, but I certainly find most people here are willing to share. So it doesn't have to be our community, but find one.
Everyone's being very supportive. There's lots of, we're all just blaming Evan.
Everyone's still there.
Everyone is still there.
Yes, blaming Evan.
Everyone.
That's true.
I'm going to give myself a point, darn it.
I was going to say you need to detract a point from
I did detract a point, but now I gave one back. Thank you very much.
Okay.
The same amount of points.
It's really truly a testament to this group that there's still everyone sitting here waiting and watching.
No, my phone is not going to come back. Let them know my phone is not. It's not going to come back. I will have to unplug it, charge it, and then we won't be synced with Lindsay's sound. So my phone can't come back. It's done.
Wow.
Well, all right. Time out.
Go tell him. Go tell him. It's
Yeah,
done.
zoom in
It's done.
on that mustache.
Lindsay,
So
does
good.
Seeking Alpha encounter these kinds of technical issues? Do you guys stream live, or is everything recorded?
No, yeah, we record in a very, very nice studio actually. So no,
Oh,
we
you do?
not.
You're
We have a
together in the same
producer.
space?
I go up to New York to use it. My
Hell
podcast
yeah.
partner works for a PR firm that has an in-house podcast studio, and it's
Oh.
very fancy. It's quite
Well,
nice.
if you have suggestions or technical feedback based on that, I would love to hear it. It
I
sounds
gotta
like they
get
might do it
producer
offline.
Matt. I'll send it to producer Matt. He's the one. All I do is show up.
Which is great.
Yes,
Which is great.
producer
That's how you
Matt
gotta do it.
is our hero out there. But I actually, so just for a little bit of reference, this podcast I actually had 2 years ago, and so it was named something different. I was working for a gaming media company at the time, and I interviewed different women and other underrepresented people who were building stuff in gaming and emerging tech, and that kind of died after I got a knee surgery and like the media company and things ended. But I actually retained the feed. And my co-host for my birthday wrote me a proposal to relaunch the podcast, focusing specifically on crypto and the industry and stuff.
Hell
And
yeah.
so that's how we got kicked off with it, which is really fun. Great
That's
birthday present, by the way.
Yeah, that's a great birthday present.
Incredible. Just to check your email, it was a Google Doc, and I was like, "What is this?"
I just want to
Someone
highlight this
says,
comment.
Evan,
Oh,
you
go
had
ahead.
one job.
Yeah, and Merciless Lethal says feedback, charge your
Yeah.
phone. Listen. Today it's New Year's Day. I've been out and about. Kimberly's a little bit sick. I had to, tear down a band show. I was traveling, and honestly, that's what happens when if you want to see the phone get better. I'm not making excuses for this, but we do a lot to produce this show that's mostly bootstrapped. So help us out. Tell your friends about the show. Every time you ask us a question, share us with your neighbors, that kind of thing. It helps us reach more people, which helps us reach advertisers, which helps us get a better setup, and maybe one day we'll be able to hire producer Matt.
Yeah,
because
he's great.
I would love to hand off production of the show to somebody whose job it is to produce the show, and then let me show up and talk. So tell Matt if he's looking for people who sound like us, then
I will say in Evan's defense that to the comments that said, Evan, you had one job. Evan actually has about 19
I have a lot of jobs for the show. Okay, I have a lot of jobs. I'm running the soundboard. I do the, Anyway,
But
no, that's
unfortunately,
enough about me. I think we're back.
Control and maintenance of the show is centralized to Evan's phone, and if it dies, we're cooked. So
anyway, let's pick up
a
this
single
conversation.
point of failure, if you will.
A single point of failure, if you will.
Yeah.
You were as I rugged us. You were just kind of dropping some wisdom about different ways to think about memes writ large versus memes on our particular corner of the internet, where a couple of like degenerate speculators are the only ones paying attention according to like what's happening in our space.
Somewhat. Well, so the like broader idea that I was kind of working on putting up or creating out of this is like, to Alex's point, is it's easy to love and hate because there's such a wide array of things, but within that you get all of the testing needed to actually find true product market fit. So 2 examples that I think about are, one, the Hawk to a Girl. Oh yeah, the irony of talking to me and getting read by Evan. Perfect.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I just had to get it.
Yeah,
As you
that's
were.
exactly it. But a Hawk to a Girl did in fact rug and is probably going to get in legal trouble for it and just stole a bunch of money, and that
already
was terrible.
is.
Yeah.
I believe
Did they?
something has already been filed. Although interestingly, she was not named personally, and I think there is at least somewhat of an understanding that she is definitely like to blame. I would never abdicate her of any responsibility. However, I would probably also say that I would be willing to bet she's a victim. I think
I think both
she
things
absolutely
are
got taken
definitely
advantage
true.
of by
Yeah.
Doc Holliday and those other assholes.
Yeah. Which is a whole other story. And then on the other hand, did you all see the story of Ticker Mira over the winter holiday break?
I don't know.
I
but
don't
I did.
think so.
If I did, I forgot it. Tell me
Okay,
more.
so Mira is a little girl whose dad asked
Oh, yes.
for
Yes.
money to raise money for treatment and clinical trials for rare brain abnormalities. I think she had some sort of growth or something like that in her brain, and she was getting treatment. And he asked his community and his people to raise money for Christmas. They were looking to raise, I think, $250,000. Someone created a meme token. All proceeds went to Mira. Market cap immediately exploded. Within a day, he was easily able to give over $1 million to the research institute that Mira was attending. He then did, this is how you actually do run an influencer meme token, by the way. did auto liquidations every hour and said how much he was going to do because he had the total supply. And so basically literally told the market what was going to happen with it. And then was able to, I think it's like still going on, but auto liquidate and donate enormous amounts of money to this cancer research group. So truly an amazing story with incredible product market fit. People were able to buy in. And at one point he wrote a great thread about it because he said, of course there's traders that made money about this, but who cares? Because we also donated a whole bunch of money to the cause of the token. So like, what does it matter that like some other people also made money while we made money? Like we can all, there's no like losing for anyone in this basically. And so the product market fit and seeing that story explode is like a whole other use case of like, oh, like we can unite on the internet. And actually for me, what I thought about was the seasons of Game of Thrones, when that was like the most poppin' time to be on Twitter, and you would log on and you were having a conversation with everyone on the internet for that hour and a half. And that has been somewhat lost. Like the diversification of entertainment and how we spend our time is like completely becoming very unique to our own selves at this point. And so seeing these kinds of moments happen where so many people from so many corners of the world get united underneath of one thing, I think is like a very much a power of like memes and the meme coin kind of community, and having the financial stake in it is what makes it different than it just being a meme. So that's like from Hawk Duo to Girl to Mira is like the influencer side of all of that. And there's a lot of gray in the middle. But the simple kind of like spray approach of all these things, I think is going to lead to like actual product market fit for various things, fundraising being one of them, identity being one of them, and a whole bunch of other uses that I'm sure we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah. Ding for a great explanation.
The mirror thing, I had forgotten the name, but watched the story happen. And the only thing I could think of was just like the difference in launch and reception of this compared to the way that we've seen meme communities grift people in the name of charity for a while. There was a charity genre of memes back in the original meme coin run several years ago. And the rescue was, I don't want to say a victim by any stretch, because we literally received a donation. I would never use that word, but I will say that like our name was used to grift other people, I think, by a specific dog themed meme that donated a non-insignificant amount of money to us, and then just sort of used that as like the impetus to shill the token more heavily to people. And then the token literally exploded. They sent this money to us like in the bear run, bull run came back, their token exploded. And they had basically been saying they were going to donate like hundreds of thousands of dollars to us and build a new facility and all this stuff, like things that we desperately needed. Wow. And they made us like do work and like submit plans and get an architect to like drop some stuff, whatever. And then they completely ghosted. And I'm like so unbelievably bearish on the idea of like meme coins for charity, because in general, what you do is you farm people's goodwill in order to enrich yourself, and then you make some sort of like nominal donation to some charity to check the box and say you did it.
Oh, for sure. Well, that's actually, I wouldn't put Mira in that category though.
No, and that's kind of my point.
Yeah,
that's kind
the
of
difference.
Point, yeah.
It's a difference between setting out with the goal of doing that versus actually having like the starting point is completely different. When you start with that intention to do a charity coin, it's much different than when you start with the moment on the internet, which spawns into the charity coin. The feedback there is opposite.
Well, and something else that's interesting too, that kind of comes into this moment that we're seeing right now with AI agents starting to interact with blockchain assets, is making that process require less trust. Like, it is a flaw of the process that right now we have to trust, first of all, the intentions of a project team, many of whom may be, anonymous, no problem with anonymity. But if it's their wallet that's getting the funds, that holds the contract, the keys, can, do whatever they want with supply, et cetera, et cetera. And on the other side, if there is, the ability for anybody anywhere to just like pump and dump and get the hell out of the token, all of those things they're flaws in design. And when smart contracts are programmable, we can do things to kind of program the trust out of it. And one of the things I expect to see more of that we're starting to see now is AI agents are the intermediaries, or the contracts themselves are becoming more smart, I guess, in terms of you don't have to just trust some team to do what they say they're going to do. The tokens were launched by a non-entity, essentially. So I'm curious if
Ooh.
you have thoughts about that, like how we, if there are particular things that could accelerate our ability to trust each other because the trust is removed when it comes to maybe fundraising with a meme token, for example.
Oh, that's super interesting. I just read a blog post on programmable money, and that's kind of what this is coming back to for me a
Sure.
little bit.
Okay.
And AI agents being able to set up certain constraints in order to make that money programmable. Let me think about that more though. I like where you're
Sure.
going with that, but I'm not sure that it's. Yeah, I don't have a fully fleshed out theory yet.
I just kind of brought it there as like a way to segue to, this interesting question of like a lot of these AI memes, I think are tied to agents doing novel things, not necessarily crypto native things, but things that we are seeing with crypto tokens, maybe for the first time. And for people who kind of haven't followed this, for my money, it's happened before, but it came around recently as speculators became really interested in this GOAT token where two AI agents were talking to each other, or maybe more than that, in this sort of AI chat room a guy had set up. And he opened it up so that people could ask them questions. And somebody made mention of a meme token called GOAT to this AI. And I don't know the exact response it gave, but it was some sort of endorsement response, if you guys know. But it launched a sort of cult on the internet around this AI agent who was advocating that this meme token was worth paying attention to. Mark Andreessen sent it $50,000 after interacting with it, I think in Bitcoin, so it could do stuff. And Cerebro or AI16Z is like supposed to be this A16Z equivalent where we raise this money through this meme token and an AI agent's going to deploy it. Or what's the one? Is it AIXBT, the one that's going to allow people to, it's like an autonomous agent. We're moving towards this world where AI agents will own private keys and they will be able to do things with them. They'll code up smart contracts, launch meme tokens. There is a possible future where an AI is going to have a bunch of pump and dumps. There's also a possible future where AI on their own or traders assisted by AI will make smarter, faster, better investment decisions than anybody else in a competitive P2P market.
Do you remember that project? What the fuck was it called? It was so overhyped on TikTok last cycle. Oh my God. Vector Space AI. You remember that one? VXV.
Yeah, but is that what it did? VXV? Yeah. I thought they were like a buy our data solution.
Kind of. So basically the idea in a nutshell was using AI to track trends in different things and make better decisions on the thing. So the part that got me excited in Vector Space, the company that launched for the record, if anyone is familiar with the token, whatever, I hated the token and I thought Vector Space, the company, was cool. And I always just said, I'd rather buy stock in Vector Space than buy this bullshit token. Because one of the things that was like super interesting to me was the idea of like mass analyzing weather data from all over the world leading up to natural disasters and then trying to improve prediction models to give more and more and more advanced warning in front of disasters, because maybe there are trends in weather patterns that like we can't recognize because we're not looking at the data properly. Maybe that's a good use of AI. Why does it need a crypto? It doesn't. They just wanted to raise money. But then one of the other things was investment baskets and using AI to analyze market trends and build better baskets of stuff.
Who let the dogs out?
to manage funds better. Hold on.
I want to highlight Raphael's comment here that says AI automating memes and narratives screams for me. Yeah, that'll likely die like NFTs and future bulls. I think it's probable that most of these things are just hype. Don't you? Mm-hmm. It's speculators on the internet who are like, wow, this thing has attention.
Well, it's novelty too. I mean, GOAT is completely novel. I don't think that there's going to be a million of these tokens in the future that we're all like using for anything.
No, but there will be a lot of derivatives too.
Yeah. Well, and when you're talking about things like programmable money, like that's actually where I get interested, where you can set up a set of conditions that when they're met, funds are automatically distributed, and extracting away the human layer of that element could be really, really effective in a lot of situations. I think I literally just wrote a blog post on this, but natural disasters are one area where you can actually have like something like an AI look at like the data and history of like every natural disaster, determine the impact of whatever natural disaster just happened based on all the past ones, determine the amount of investment needed, where that should go, who in the area. You could even set up like local distribution channels. Like if you're if your cell phone pings in there in the area for 30 days or more or whatever, you're automatically distributed disaster relief. Like,
Sure.
so
Sure.
that could be like completely automated. And if that fund was maybe based on like just fully deploying and using an agent, it might be a lot more efficient, effective, and fast in those kinds of situations. So I don't know. Like I said, I want to think more about the programmable money part of this.
I think we're going to have models for that in the future, like next year. I think there will be companies who have agents that are managing funds and making decisions about allocating resources. And I also think we're probably going to have, I bet there will be at least one major like corporate PR crisis where some big company has an AI agent or agents, a software that is, managing claims or resources or whatever, and it really messes up. And I think that's going to be something we'll have to deal with the implications of in the very, very near future.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh. Sorry. I just saw your comment in our private chat and I will not read it out loud. But no, I'm let's say this. We tease butthole token and fartcoin token. Can we make our final thought before I give away scores and we ride our dogs and ponies into the sunset? Can you just tell us what we were talking about? Because this is a great example of like what people are speculating attention on. I saw 5 people, at least in the Masari report this year, say their winner token for the year is a token launched like a month ago called Fartcoin. And I've seen a bunch of derivatives, including now butthole token. Are we, what's going on with that, Lindsay? Because I've heard about it, but I have no idea what's going on with it.
Okay, so I actually don't know what's going on with it. All I know is that my meme coin trading chats will not shut up about it. It's like, that's like all I log on to every day is like, buy Fartcoin, buy butthole, and I'm like, no, like I'm so glad that you all are making money off of this, but like this is so unserious when I'm like trying to like help people pay their bills in Argentina, like No, so it's not a bad thing. Like speculation has its place, whatever. I don't think I'm ever going to mentally be interested. And even the financial incentives from this are not enough to interest me in figuring out how to make money off of something called butthole. Yeah. And with Fartcoin, there's also like unicorn fart dust. And it just like devolves.
Is that the one that the old guy, he's an older gentleman, not old, but he created because he was like, meme coins are so stupid. I'm going to make one. And the internet just blew it up out of spite.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Which is like, you just proved his point then. I don't know. So it's like, Alex said it best when he was like, I will defend meme coins and also have vitriol towards them all the time. You should put that on the soundboard because that's meme coins. That's smart and butthole.
Yeah. Okay, well then let's do this. As I tally up the points, Lindsay, tell us again who you are, what you do, where people can find you on the internet. Yes. And then I will give our points out. We'll do final thoughts and we'll ride our dogs and ponies into the sunset. Sound good?
Yes, it does. I am at Lindsay Poss on all social media platforms except TikTok, where I am at Thinking Alpha Pod that I just created this morning. I work for the Stellar Development Foundation. I do growth marketing, but I also have a background in policy. I write a blog. I host a podcast. I live and breathe every day on the beautiful internet, and you can always find me there. Always online.
Well, thank you very much for making time to join the show tonight. Alex, are you ready for the final point totals? Okay, here we go.
Only if I won.
Some honorable mentions. Mike got 1 point. Jesse got 1 point. Soundboard Alex had a point. Stellar got a point. Arlo got infinity points. So because that's not a real number, Arlo is disqualified from winning, but is the real MVP. Evan McMullen got a point. Kim got 2 points. Kim Fournier. I got 3 points after losing one and gaining one back. Alex, you got 6 points. And this week's runaway winner with 12 points was our guest, Lindsay Poss. So congratulations, Lindsay. You have won just a lot of bragging rights, and we would welcome you back on the show anytime. Do you have a final thought, question, suggestion, good joke, or word of wisdom to share with our audience before we really do ride our dogs and ponies off into the sunset?
Ooh, my final word of wisdom is focus on making the community around you a better, brighter place every day. That's how we'll change things.
13 points to end the night. That was very strong. I've never given a point after the contest before. Damn, it was good. Alex, what about you? Do you have a final thought?
No, just to say thank you, Lindsay, for giving us so much of your time today. This was really good. I'm very excited about how this went. I think this was a great way to kick off the year, and it's gonna be a big ass year for the show. So I'm super stoked. And it is fitting that we ended with a meme conversation and Evan rugging all of us.
Listen, man.
Fact check yourself, brother.
I'm sorry about that. I will work on that. My final thought is, if you want to support the show, you can. I don't know. You can send me Matt, the producer, or Brian, the producer, or Jesse, the producer, or anybody you know who's going to produce our show, so I don't have to.
Or
do
an
it.
iPhone charging cord, alternatively.
Apparently, an iPhone charging cord. You can catch up with us with Lindsay at all the links below, and then join us for more conversations in the Discord or back here Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Central for more Rise Up After Dark, or Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time for the Rise Up Morning Show. My friends, Happy New Year. Thank you for being the best part of what we do. And guys, until next time, stay safe. Rise up.